Hey, what's going on, everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are finally back with another episode of the Alabastard podcast. So, this is our third one that we've done. Well, technically it was fourth, but because of a specific person who doesn't know how to properly record audio, this is our third one that we've uploaded. I'm not going to mention who messed it up, but it was someone that's currently in the call. So I am here with the same people that generally have been doing this. So I'm here with Hunter. How's it going, Hunter?
Goes good, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty darn good. I'm also here with Ziggy. How's it going?
Good to be back.
Perfect. And then I'm also here with Caleb once again. How's it going, Caleb?
Oh, it's going. I'm living the dream.
All right, one nightmare at a time. I get it. I get it. So
Yep.
Cody may or may not be joining us this time. So he lives in a different time zone than we do, and when we had coordinated this time, we didn't think about that fact. So Cody may be joining us later in the recording. He may not be. But yeah, that was kind of my bad a little bit with that. But yeah, there's a lot of things we're going to talk about today. So obviously the title of the podcast here is Alabastard podcast number 3, Modern Problems. What's the solution? You know, kind of a play on modern problems, require modern solutions. So the things that we're going to be talking about today specifically, we're going to be talking about a few of our Tarkir Dragonstorm picks. As of the recording of this video, Tarkir Dragonstorm, it's been out for like, I don't know, maybe like 3 weeks, maybe a month, still relatively new, and we each have a card that we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about what's up with Modern. So we talk a lot of Pioneer here on the channel, and I don't want to say Pioneer is like a solved format, or we kind of know what's going on with Pioneer, but Modern, it feels like, changes so drastically a lot, and there's just so much to talk about with Modern. We're also going to talk about how to fix FNM, also known as Friday Night Magic, for the 2 people that did not know that. So I'm not going to go crazy into that because we're all going to talk about that later. And then we're also going to talk about a few of the channel member Q&A. A few people in the Commander Crane Discord, I let them say, hey, if there's a question you want to ask the podcast, we will talk about it, in the podcast. And here we are. So we're going to go ahead and start with our Tarkir Dragonstorm picks. So I have to remember who I had start, I think, in order. I believe it's Caleb is our first pick, which I've got the slide here, obviously. Not that you guys can see the slide, but I've got it going here. So, okay, we're going to talk about our Tarkir Dragonstorm picks. Caleb, your pick was Jeskai Shrinekeeper. Go ahead and talk about why you picked this card to talk about today.
Yeah. So first, I've been playing a lot of draft for some of some of the later discussion because of some of the later discussion, and I love this card. I've been doing a lot of pretty much 5-color good stuff control, and when I do it, I love having this card because it just feels like it's an absolute powerhouse. Just control the board until I can get up to that what, 5th mana. I don't have it up right now.
Yep, yeah, it's 2 in
yeah,
Jeskai.
yeah, 2 in Jeskai. Like once I have that 5th mana, like I slam it down, draw a card, gain a life, and it's pretty great.
Yeah, overall, I really do like this card. It's not one that I've personally drafted in Tarkir Dragonstorm. I think the only one, unsurprisingly, that I've really drafted is the Teamer one. But yeah, this card just kind of seems nuts. Like, it's not super big, but like, if there's no other flyers in play, I feel like this is just kind of, you're going to get so much value from a card like this.
Yeah, your mana in this format is just so good, and having a hasty flying threat draws you a card, it gains you a life. It slots really nicely into like the 5-color-ish decks where you're basically like Teamer, but you're splashing. It just it fits the curve so nicely. It gives you an evasive threat. It gives you card advantage. It kind of just does everything you want it to do.
In this format, for limited specifically, it rewards you so well for going big into those 4 to 5 color like options, especially when it comes to those big dragons, and that's probably one of the best ones for sure.
What I'll say is like it just does what I want to do, especially in draft. Is as long as I am drawing cards, and then on top of that, making you go down in life and putting pressure on, it just feels good every single time that I play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the format feels a lot like old cons where you just wanted to be doing the biggest stuff, and that card's right at home. It's kind of a bridge to your super late game, or it's just a nice top end if you're just a Jeskai aggro deck.
Yep.
Yeah, overall, pretty sweet card. Obviously, it's a dragon, so it gets my seal of approval on that. But, okay, all right. So, next one here is going to be Ryan's pick. And Ryan's pick was relatively inevitable based on how much he loves this card. It's inevitable defeat. Ryan, the floor is yours. What do you got to say about this card?
Oh, there's so much to say about this card. So back in, I want to say it was original cons, we had Crackling Doom. And Crackling Doom was a fantastic Magic card. It wasn't like a powerhouse in that standard format, but it was very good. And you got Mardu mana, they sacked their biggest creature, and it dealt them 2 for 3 mana. It was a great card. I played it a lot. Inevitable Defeat is just so much better. So it's 4 mana. It's 1 red, white, black, so 1 in Mardu. It's uncounterable. It's an instant. It exiles any non-land permanent. So, I mean, it's not like the full Vindicate where you can hit the lands. This card would be obscene if it hit lands. But it can deal with any problem permanent that you have. And it's got Siege Rhino text. So their opponents lose 3 life and you gain 3 life. So back in cons, OG cons, the two of my favorite cards were Siege Rhino and Crackling Doom. And this card just slaps those cards together and throws Can't Be Counted on there for free. Is this going to be like the best card in the format? No. It's 4 mana. It's a removal spell. Like, there's a ceiling as to how good it can be, and it's also 3 colors. But I think if you can make the mana work to have this in your deck, it's just going to be very solid. Like, think Vraska's Contempt from, I want to say that was Ixalan block.
Yep.
It was 2 black, instant. You exile the non-land permanent, and you gain 2 life.
God, it wasn't even that good. It wasn't even that good. It was just creature planeswalker.
Oh, you couldn't even get artifact. Yeah, I mean, this thing gets everything. Although really,
got everything.
Really everything. But... yeah, but this card, like the Siege Rhino attacks, like it turns your removal spell in like the right deck into a win condition too. Like it just drains them for 3. It's a Helix. So I don't know. This card it's got Siege Rhino feel. It's got Crackling Doom feel. It's got Lightning Helix feel. It's got Vindicate feel. And it's kind of just threw all that in a blender and just gave me a card I really want to be casting.
So I have a few. Go ahead, Hunter. I know you were saying something.
Or no, it was me, Caleb. No, actually, I have a story about this card already.
Oh, okay.
So we do a draft at my work, and we usually we draft once per set, and I was pretty dumb and I committed to Abzan way too early in the draft, so I was pretty focused on all the Abzan cards, and I saw this card pass, didn't really think about it, and then later on, I saw the card pass again, and I'm like, I didn't really think about it. Well, it turns out one of my coworkers had drafted 3 of these inevitable defeats.
Oh, God.
When I played him, he casted every single every single one. I was like, I can't win. Like, I can't, like, when you cast this card 3 times and just naturally. And good game. Like,
yeah, like, is it going to be that good in Constructed? No. But I think it's going to be a solid player in like Standard and Pioneer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is. It is a very good card.
Like, the thing I like about this, I have a few notes with this card. Like, one, I think it's going to be one of those cards that's like, it may not ever be a top tier card, but like, you'll be playing on the ladder, or you'll play against someone at your F&M, and they're playing a mid-range deck with a few of these, and you're just going to be infuriated. Like, they're just going to get so much value. I play a lot of aggro. Okay, if Ryan casts this against me, it's like, okay, so he took out my creature that was attacking him, and he just gained more life, so it's going to be even harder to take him out on a following turn. And then, like, oh, you just play multiples of these. You can't play blue for maybe even some, like, counter magic or anything like that. Like, this just feels like, just bad. It just feels bad to play against if you're aggro.
Yeah, just wait until I cast one off Goggles against you.
Well, that was my second thing, was you, for those who aren't aware, so we do a lot of paper magic here on the channel, and Ryan loves to play Jeskai Goggles. My question is when do we maybe splash Mardu, like, or do we throw in a few, like, Blood Crypts or something, or...
Mardu Goggles is already built.
Okay, that's perfect. How
And
many
we're just
Dreadbores does it
foregoing
play?
It plays a few Molten Collapse.
Okay, perfect.
4 Helix, 4 Crackling Doom, 4 Inevitable Defeat.
Oh, God, I'm gonna lose.
Yeah, enjoy your creatures for as long as you can, I guess.
I won't.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing is, too, my last comment with this card, is I've always liked simple but strong cards. Like, not a crazy amount of text, it's straightforward and strong, and this card fits all this. It's 4 mana, can't be countered, exile something, lose 3, your opponent loses 3, and you gain 3. Like, it's really simple.
Yeah.
Like, I've always liked cards like this.
Yeah, like, is this Questing Beast? No. I mean, it's not like word soup on a massive creature that's going to dominate the format. Like, it's never going to be, like, S tier. It's just very good for what you're putting into it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Void Rend, for example. Void Rend was never, like, an all-star, but it saw a good bit of play in the right kinds of decks, and it was really annoying when your opponent cast it. Dude, I think this card's kind of in that vein.
Dude, I really thought Void Rend was going to be, like, a 4-of staple. Like, I really did.
Oh, I did too. And that's what's giving me, like, I don't want to say that about this card because I think it's kind of the same thing. Like, it's a good removal spell in the right deck, and it's kind of a role player. But, I wouldn't sleep on this card. I think if you're playing an aggro deck, this is like a fine couple copies. It finishes them off and it gets rid of their big blocker. In a mid-range deck, it's just great. Like, it just does everything you want in a mid-range deck. And even in the right kind of control deck, although there's no blue in the cost, like, it'd be good in a control mirror too.
Honestly, with this card in Standard, I really think that, similar to when Scarab God was really good, and that's why Vraska's Contempt was such a strong card, if threats enter the format that require having to be exiled, I think that this is possibly one of your best options in terms of just, like, assuming it's not an enchantment, so you can't play, like, any weird, like, exile enchantment card or something like that. Like, I think that this card could be good in some mid-range piles.
Yeah, I think in Standard or Pioneer, it'll have a home, and it'll be a solid card. Don't sleep. It's like 39 cents right now. Like, pick up 4.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, at that point. So, okay, anyone else have any other comments or questions with Inevitable Defeat? There's just so much to talk about.
I just wonder, is this card really good against Domain in Standard? Because, I mean, like, what if I think about it, whenever you play Domain and I'm playing, like, mid-range, and, like, if you get a Mardu mid-range pile to, like, I feel like it could combat Domain, because a lot of times all the removal is land-based, or is what's that Domain card right now that's like 6 mana, but if you have Domain, it's only 1.
Leyline Binding.
Thank you, Leyline Binding.
Their threats are all enchantment based, right? Like, you got Leyline Binding, you've got Up the Beanstalk, and you have the Green Overlord. And, like, even when it's impending, this thing hits all of that. It's not the most cost efficient at hitting it all, but it always has a target.
Well, and a lot of times I feel like I'm just trying to find, like, that last little bit of chip damage. Like, you cast 2 of these, or even 1 of them. I mean, I don't know. I was not as high on this card as you were, Ryan, or Ziggy. And man, I, like, now thinking on it, like, it's pretty hot in Standard.
So
when is it bad? Like, it's never like a slam dunk, but when is it bad? As long as you have 4 mana and you can cast this card, it's just solid.
So here's my question, and this is such a dumb thing, but if this was 1 mana more, it would trigger up the Beanstalk. So would it be better at 5 mana?
Yeah, it would, because you would just slam it into your domain deck.
Yeah. Yep.
It reminds me of
that it's cool.
it reminds me of like or Captain of Eos from years ago. Like they gave it an extra power because they didn't want it to work with Revelark, so they like buffed it. They nerfed it by buffing it. That's kind of what this card reminds me of. They need to nerf it to buff it.
Yeah, because they didn't want it to trigger Beanstalk. I mean, it would be sweet in the Beanstalk deck or like a Niv Reborn pile.
Right.
If that was the case.
Doesn't Beanstalk just plays that the Abzan one now, right? Like
The Sultai.
I don't even remember the card.
the Abzan multicolor, it's like exile 3 or greater.
Oh, sure,
Abzan-
yeah. That makes sense. God, up the Beanstalk. What a dumb card. Okay.
Yeah.
But all right. Anyways, let's move on to the next card. So Hunter, I know yours is next. So your card, man, arguably the best card in the set. It's definitely a card that I would say you guys would love playing. It's not really so much a me card. It's Corey Steelcutter. Hunter, floor is yours. Take it away. What are your thoughts on Corey Steelcutter?
I love everything about this card. It has been my bread and butter since it came out. I've played it in Boros, I've played it in Gruul, and then the breakout deck with this card, especially in Standard, has been Is It Prowess. Is It Prowess has popped up in a couple other formats, even coming all the way back to Modern. And it just kind of like does what you want to do in a Prowess aggressive base deck, which is like make small bodies that get buffed when you cast spells, and it swings forward. So when you cast your second spell, it makes the dude and equips it to it, and you can just bash in, and then on the next turn you cast 2 spells, buff the dude you already have, make another dude, and rinse and repeat. I really like the Is It Shell specifically because you can just kind of turn through playing cards like Sleight of Hand and Opt, and then you also get to play Stock Up, which that card has honestly been a brick house every time I've cast it. So being able to kind of throw all those together in a standard deck has been just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, this card just seems like you get so much value. Like if you're the type of person that likes Monastery Mentor, you probably really like this card too. I would have to imagine.
I was just gonna say that, like, Hunter, you've played both. I'm assuming this compares like very favorably to Monastery Mentor.
It does. I would almost like to say that, like, with the way the standard meta is specifically, because they are both in standard at the moment, this is probably a little bit better than Monastery Mentor. But if you really, really wanted to, if you throw Swifty, Cutter, Monastery Mentor, and Lightning Helix and Shock all in a deck together, like, congrats, you probably are going to like at least 2 on your local FNM.
I'm assuming it's better because it's 2 mana.
Yes. Yeah, the 2 mana is like a really, really big upside. And there's been a lot of games where going like turn 2, plot, slick shot, show off, and then untap, go land, Corey Steelcutter, play the slick shot for free. It triggers the cutter, and then you get to cast like a monstrous rage and bash in for a big turn, like on 3. It's like, it's truly disgusting if it goes the way you want, like especially if you turn 1 Monastery Swift Spear and then you just brick in.
This is a card that's absolutely up my alley too, and I'm definitely going to get some copies on Arena and try it out.
Right.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, this card also pretty much single-handedly brought back Is It Prowess in Modern.
Well, that was going to be what I was about to say. Was I saw that Is It Prowess is getting a resurgence. This also seems pretty cool with Dragon Wraith Channeler because it does add an artifact, which, because from my understanding, the only artifacts that deck played was Bauble, so it just seems like it slots really nicely into that deck.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely like being able to trigger Dragon Wraith Channeler. And that's like the other thing about Corey Steelcutter. That's like, if you draw it on turns 3 through 5 in your Is It or Gruul or Boros Prowess deck, whatever monstrosity you want to throw this into, it's not a dead draw. For the simple fact is, like, say, like, if I'm on turn 5 or 6 and I draw a Slick Shot show off the top, my Slick Shot's not going to trigger my other Slick Shot, but my Corey Steelcutter is going to trigger my Slick Shot, and if I have another spell, like, it also gives me a 2/2.
Yep.
It also triggers your other Corey Steel Cutters, doesn't it? Or is it just instant
No,
losers?
oh no, it's
No, just
Savell.
other steel cutters, yeah. Like I said, like it's like Corey Steel Cutter does everything you want it to do in an Is It Prowess shell. Like literally everything you want.
So
the trample's nice too.
Trample and then throwing trample on has been obscene.
So my experience with Corey Steel Cutter. So I haven't been playing a lot of Standard recently, but I've been playing a lot of Explorer / Pioneer and Arena, and I must say, so Is It Phoenix is starting to play this card. Some people play it in the board, some people play it in the main. It kind of varies. This card is so annoying to play against, like, as someone who plays dinosaurs predominantly on Arena. Like, I basically play this, like, weird endless loop where we turn into, like, this game of chicken a little bit, where, like, okay, can you keep triggering the Steel Cutter to, like, keep blocking my creatures? And, like, at the time, I didn't really have any, like, artifact hate to be able to take care of this. But I usually bring in Pick Your Poison in the sideboard to, like, deal with Ledger Shredders. And, like, now it feels even better because instead of them having sit in my hand sometimes, I can also pick off Corey Steel Cutter. But this card is so good. Like, it just makes a bunch of blockers, and then, like, you can even, like, end step, like, opt, consider, trigger, make a dude untap, like, opt, treasure cruise, boom, like, it just seems so good. Yeah, I think this card's great in multiple formats, and it's really annoying, and I'm not looking forward to having to blow a lot of these up in the very near future. Like, this card just seems great.
My technology in the Phoenix board has been Young Pyromancer for a long time, and it's not as good defensively, but it's way better as a threat, and it can still just, like, churn out bodies if you need some blockers.
Right.
And they can't just lightning bolt it or whatever.
Yeah,
I also think it's like, oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
I also think it's got a nice hedge to it, being an aggressive threat that makes tokens, for the simple fact of how much creature spot removal is running around Standard and Pioneer / Explorer. So, like, you don't get punished for devoting your entire turn to playing a quote-unquote do-nothing creature on the first half of it, because 8 out of 10 times they're not going to have an answer for just an artifact. They're going to be sitting on, like, a Fatal Push or a Shock or, like, a Leyline, not a Leyline Binding, the March of...
the Worldly Light.
The White March,
yeah, and, like, most of these times they just won't have a very good distinctive answer for Cutter on turn 2, whereas they could answer a creature better on turn 2.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's what's great about it is, like you said, you can't Fatal Push this, you can't Lightning Bolt this. Like, you have to have something to destroy the artifact, or they're just going to keep getting value from this. Like, I feel like this is where, especially with how grindy Standard and I would say Pioneer is too right now, is like a card like this, you're going to make so many tokens from this thing. And let's also not forget about the fact that it also gives an equipped creature trample and haste. So, like, hypothetically, like, if you're playing this at Is It Phoenix, and then all of a sudden, like, you could just play a Crackling Drake, draw a card, equip, and just kill your opponent out of nowhere. Like, let's not forget that part of it, too.
I was just thinking about Crackling Drake. That's hilarious.
So, like, you can do some really sneaky things with this card. And again, it being an artifact helps it out a lot with, like, Delirium and such. So,
yeah, I mean, it already gives it +1/+1 trample haste, like, equip 2. That's not bad.
That's very doable. That's very doable.
Get your braids now.
Get your braids now.
The braid's going to be a $5 uncommon here soon.
It is in Standard, I think, right?
It is. It was in Foundations.
Oh, God, yeah. Okay, we're good. I was going to say, because I know it was in, like, Crimson Vow, and I thought it was in something past that, but yeah, it's on Foundations. Okay, well, we got a braid anyways. So, okay, does anyone else have any last comments about Corey Steel Cutter?
I'm solid.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right,
Tell us what dragon you want to talk about.
Okay, it's actually not a dragon. I would say mine is probably the least exciting of the cards that was picked today. But I really want to talk about this card because personally for me, Tarkir Dragonstorm honestly did not have that many cards that I was excited about to play. At least in existing decks that I already have now. But the one card that I've actually been playing a lot that I was like, I thought the card was nuts. Then I thought it sucked, and then I started playing it again. I started playing it, and it's actually been pretty good. The card is Herd Heirloom, the other 2-mana artifact, colored artifact from this set. So it's 1 green, tap it for 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast a creature spell, and then you can tap it until end of turn. Target creature you control with power 4 or greater gains trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So when I saw this card in spoiler season, I was like, okay, this is going to be a Commander Mana Rock that's going to be like $10 until it gets reprinted again. So I bought my copies, and they were like $1.50 maybe a piece, and I'm like, okay, like sure, I'll try it out. And like one day I was playing, been playing a lot of Explorer recently. I thought, I'm gonna try this card in Dinosaurs, and it has been absolutely bonkers. Like I can't tell you how good this card has been. So one of the biggest downsides for Dinosaurs specifically for a while is they play all these 6/6s and 5/4s, and Marauding Raptors are like 6/3s after all these triggers. But then the problem is you can't get any damage in. Like, they just go, okay, I'll chump block with my Corey Steelcutter token, and then nothing happens of it. So the problem was being able to give trample, but also get some additional card advantage, just because you play cards like Commune with Dinosaurs to help filter your draws a little bit, but largely nothing else. And with the amount of cheap removal in the format right now, like in the form of Torch the Tower as well as Fatal Push, just because of how good the mono red decks have been, it's tough to stick an elf, and sometimes it's even tough to stick a Marauding Raptor on turn 2. So I've been playing 2 additional copies of this to kind of help with that a little bit, and it feels fantastic. I mean, there's games where I've gone this turn 2, turn 3, like a Rampaging Raptor, and then turn 4, play another one, target one of them, and draw a free card, which feels pretty good. Like overall, this card just is awesome, and I was actually making my deck tech the other day for like the updated Dinosaur listing that I've been playing, and I went to check the price just to verify it was the same. And this card, as the last time I checked, it was $8 a piece now. So it looks like the Commander players caught on to this card being very good. I know that you guys, this is not a type of card that you guys would ever play really in Constructed. But I guess what are your guys' questions or comments in regards to this card?
It's very niche. Like, it's got to be in the right deck, because if it didn't say creature power 4 or greater, it would be insane. You would just make everything an Ophidian.
Yeah.
It's gotta be in like a dragon or a dinosaur or like some big green deck, but I think it plays well there. Those decks tend to want some way to gain card advantage and or a way to give trample, and this kind of does both. And having a 2-mana rock is always good in those decks.
Right, and with current Magic, they don't make 2-mana mana rocks. Like, the ones they make are, like, they don't make Mind Stones. They're very, very specific ones, and I would say that so far this is probably the best one that's at least legal in Pioneer.
Yeah, Mind Stone this ain't, but it is probably quite good in the decks that want it.
And, like, also back to the argument of, for Corey Steelcutter, a whole lot of interaction in both formats for 2-mana creatures. Not a whole lot of interaction in the format for 2-mana artifacts, at least in the main board. So, like, you are also getting away with a higher chance of being able to progress your board next turn the way you want to in decks like Dragons and Dinosaurs specifically.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why Sylvan Caryatid is so good in Pioneers, because they just can't kill it with a removal spell.
True.
And this does like the same thing.
Yeah, the one thing I really like about this is I feel like it, especially in the early game, it does 2 different things that you really want it to do. In the if you're playing against like a control deck, you can give your really big threat some card advantage, and I feel like and then if you're playing against like an aggro deck or like a mid-range deck, it helps you get over those decks and get like the bigger threat. And I think that, like, the late game, there's an issue. But, like, man, having this in your opening hand is just great. Especially if for, like, a big Dino Dragon style deck.
Yeah, it's not a good top deck, but it's a better top deck than an elf.
Oh,
yeah.
So much better. So yeah, like I've been playing this a lot, and it's felt really good. Like just being able to punch through. Like it also feels just really good with Rampaging Raptor is the card that I keep gravitating toward in terms of talking about this with. But it's also good with like Pugnacious Hammerskull. Like I feel like my Rakdos Demon matchup has significantly gotten better with Herd Heirloom in the deck just because being able to draw cards, like they run you out of cards so fast, and you know they play all these cheap creatures to be able to block really well, and it's just so awkward for them to be able to do that. And with Herd Heirloom, probably the funniest play I ever had was against Rakdos Sack. I had a play where it was like super top deck mode and, you know, had nothing going on. And I activated a lair for 6 and then was able to give it trample to win. Which that was hilarious. And actually, now that I think about it, there was actually that same match. And this is not about Herd Heirloom, this is just in general. So they played a Liliana in -2. So I had 3 lands in play. I had a Herd Heirloom in play, and then I had like a Marauding Raptor and like 2 Regal Imperiosaurs. And I did the funniest thing by activating the lair to be able to sacrifice to the Liliana, because I still had access to 3 mana. And I had in my hand, I had Hammerskull, Regal Imperiosaur. And I was like, I don't want to sacrifice my Marauding Raptor or my Regal Imperiosaur. So I literally activated the lair to sacrifice it. But because with Herd Heirloom, I had that mana guaranteed. Like, I knew they weren't going to have any interaction. This is also, I think it was game 2, but they didn't see the Herd Heirloom game 1. So it's not like they knew to bring it in a braid or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kind of.
I think they played well.
Yeah, it's just kind of a dumb thing. But yeah, I really like Herd Heirloom, and yeah, so if anyone need to pick up their copies, you missed out, because now the Commander players bought these for all their new Dragon decks that they're building. So, but anyway, so those are all of our Tarkir Dragonstorm picks, and I feel like I don't know how long we went on there for, but it felt like a long time. Not in a bad way, though. It felt like this group, one thing I've always loved is like, we like find something to talk about, and we just go. Like, we just keep going. Like, there's so much to talk about. Okay. Let's head into the next thing here. So, other Tarkir cards. I guess, is there any other cards that you guys wanted to mention that you're playing in any specific decks, or a card you've liked in Limited? Like, is there any other cards you guys want to talk about?
I would just mention Mox Jasper. Every time they come out with a Mox, people lose their minds. I don't see it with Mox Jasper, and you're the Dragon expert here. I mean, I feel like it's like Mox Amber, where it's probably going to find some niche combo-y nonsense deck to fill a role in, but it seems just worse than Amber, and I don't really see it working in Dragons per se. But what's your take on it?
So, I'm not a fan of the card in the sense that it, like, you have to have a dragon in place. So, like, your best case scenario is like turn 3, you could finally be able to use it for mana. I think the only funny thing you could do with Mox Jasper is there's a 3-mana dragon from a long time ago, Gadrick the Crown Scourge, that can't attack unless you have 2 or more artifacts in play, which is kind of funny with that card. So you could get Gadrick online, and it's a 5/4 for 3 with flying. So it's not like it's nothing, which I've always thought that
it's a legend?
It's a legendary creature.
Yeah.
We could also play Mox Amber.
Or yeah, exactly. The point. So like I'm not a fan of Mox Jasper. I didn't have it in my top cards for Tarkir Dragonstorm. I'm not a big fan of the card. I'm really not. Like, I feel like if it could do something else, I'd be online. But like with dragons, like if you're playing Dragon Ramp, like if you made it to your dragon, like okay, boom, you don't really need a ramp anymore. At least for like aggro.
Exactly.
And then for like a ramp deck, you wouldn't really want it because Mox Jasper wouldn't even be online till like turn 5 or 6 or whatever. So it's like, why do I want this card?
Yeah, you want your Mox online like ASAP. And Mox Jasper is designed to not do that. I'm sure there is a 1-mana dragon if we're counting changelings and whatnot, but there's not a 1-mana dragon I want to play.
No. We're playing Dragon Hatchling, the 2-mana All-Star from M14.
Yeah, we're not playing that. I'm just like, you could play like a Moth Dust Changeling or something, and it's a dragon, but I don't see any fun gameplay after that.
No. But yeah, no, overall, yeah, Mox Jasper, whatever. It's not a sweet card. But Hunter, do you have any sweet cards that you want to talk about from Tarkir Dragonstorm?
I have one, kind of piggybacking off of Ryan's, like, even if you don't like the card, it's super cheap, and I think it's gonna end up being good somewhere down the lines eventually. It is currently like 40 cents on TCG Player, and that is Corey Mountain Monastery. It is it is a red land from the rare land cycle from Tarkir Dragonstorm. It enters tapped unless you control a plains or an island, taps for red, but it's 3 colorless red, tap it, and exile the top card of your library, and until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. I just, have had a few games in the Is It Prowess standard deck where I have 1 or 2 of these copies and my opponent didn't, and the card advantage over 2 or 3 turns ended up turning the tide for the game in my favor. So it's a super cheap card that I think is going to see play eventually down the road, is just at least a 1 or 2 of, so pick them up while you can.
Yeah, I really like the land, not like the multicolor land, but that land cycle in this set. All of them are pretty cool. Maybe not the white one, but all of them are pretty cool. I'm sure you could do something with the white one.
Yeah.
I will say, I feel like the only thing that is a slight trap with those cards is they don't belong in a 3-color deck. It is,
No, you
Well,
only
they do
can
not.
play them in a 2-color deck.
yeah,
Yes.
like, and I feel like my first thought was, oh man, I want 3 colors with this, and it's not. It's just that 2-color deck.
My only thing against those lands, honestly, that I don't like, is, you want to know what I envision happening? Is like, you get your new player, and they're like, oh, I'm going to build my mono green deck, and then they put that in their deck, and it enters tapped every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah, place the breeding pool. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Then this one specifically, like, it enters tapped unless you control a plains or an island, and get 8.5 times out of 10 if you're building a dual colored red deck. Those are going to be one of the colors you're going to be playing anyways. Just throw one of
Yep.
these in there. It's going to give you card advantage when your games turtle out in the late game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a fan of those lands. Honestly, yeah, I think if any of those are cheap, which I think most of them are, like, easy pickups, like, for sure. I think
Easy.
that's a solid pickup. But yeah, Caleb, is there any cards that you wanted to highlight with Tarkir Dragonstorm?
The only one that I think still, like, I haven't really explored with it too much is this Felithar Dawn of the Abzan.
Oh,
I think
okay.
this with Insidious Roots is at least interesting. It just seems strong. I don't know, like you need to figure out the right deck for it, but it just seems like it's a strong card.
Sure.
The right deck for it is Hardened Scales.
Hardened Scales.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm surprised.
somebody
Other
say
than Corey Steel Cutter, this is
Hardened
Hunter's
Scales?
second favorite card. Yeah,
Hello.
that card looks unreal in some kind of Scales shell.
For anybody who wants to find a way to break Felithar, I have been working on a slight 1/1 counters deck for standard. All I know for certain is it revolves around a certain 2-drop by the name of Botanical Brawler, and then you just, it's like that Groom meme. You just build Abzan counters, play Botanical Brawler, play Felithar, profit.
So I would say, for me personally, in terms of cards to spotlight, it's not even one in particular. It's just how many commons we got, like, strictly better versions of. Like, for instance, the one I'm looking at right now is because I opened it in a pack the other day. It's Sarkhan's Resolve, which is literally plummet, or you can give a creature +3/+3 until end of turn. There's a lot of commons and uncommons in this set that are just, like, strictly better versions of cards that were, like, niche playable in sideboards, or just, like, okay cards. Kind of like a Frontline Rush, the new Raise the Alarm that's in Boros. Like, there's just so many, like, really good commons and uncommons in this set. It kind of reminds me of Lost Caverns of Ixalan, where it felt like every uncommon in that set was just, like, really good. And yeah, I don't know. I just think that a lot of these commons and uncommons are really good.
The one that jumps to my mind is there's a return to nature type card. It's like 1 and a green. It can naturalize, but then you could exile a card from a graveyard and you just draw a card.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I remember being excited about Return to Nature and when it came out in War of the Spark. And then now I'm just
it
like...
does so many different things. Yeah.
It's like, wait, now I can also
Heritage
draw a card?
Yeah, being able to
Heritage
cycle that
Reclamation.
is amazing.
And it's also an instant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because why
Yeah,
not?
it's strictly better, right? Like, strictly better than every version of that card.
Yeah.
I, of course, along the lines of Frontline Rush, shocking Sharpshooter, which is Impact Tremors on something that's relevant.
Dude, yeah.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
That card, like, but also that too is just like a lot of these standard sets. It feels like every few sets, like every set has it to a certain extent, but we're getting a lot of like eternally good sideboard cards or like good like niche staple cards are like getting better versions, which is just like, I don't want to say is like bad or good, but it's like cool. Like it's kind of like, oh dude, this is just better Plummet. It's like I already kind of wanted to play Plummet. Now I can just like also have a pump spell.
Yeah, everyone
Like,
else is like, Plummet, better this. And then meanwhile, they just reprinted Twin Bolt, like, no notes.
No notes.
Thanks, Blizzard. Twin
Dude.
Bolt's perfect, I guess. You can't give me 4
Auroral-
Bolt.
Auroral Persecution, green, blue, instant, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. And just,
Yeah,
instant
like
speed regrowth.
we didn't
going
want to.
under the radar.
Yeah, like we didn't want to put literal actual regrowth into Modern until 2020, and they're just like, Psh, watch this. We're just gonna make an instant speed Simic one, and no one gave, no one cared. Like no one
Yeah,
cared.
and no one
Bad.
cares.
Card's bad.
No, nobody's going to play that card.
Regrowth sucks.
Nope, card's bad.
Regrowth
Super
does
card,
suck.
card's bad.
God, dude, regrowth, man. Oh, I love regrowth. I played in my first green deck I ever built. I played 2 regrowths in there. It's like, oh
First thing I
crap!
played a regrowth was Snapcaster Mage.
Oh my God, it's Cody. Cody, how's it going?
What up, brother?
So yeah, we talked about this earlier in the intro. It was like we said 7 o'clock, and then we kind of forgot you're in a different time zone.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, I didn't think about that either.
no, you really haven't missed anything though. Honestly, so Turk here, Dragonstorm, which by the way, for those who might not know, Cody's been a long time person involved in the podcast here. Is there any card from Turk here, Dragonstorm that you're pretty stoked about?
I mean, I guess like everybody else, Corey Steelcutter is pretty sweet.
Yeah, we talked for about 10 minutes about Corey Steelcutter and how good the card is.
Yeah. I mean,
That's great.
that's probably the best card in the set, honestly. So I don't know.
You're
Other than that,
So I would assume in
Other than
Modern you're probably playing it with Darcy, right?
I have not played Modern in a very long time.
Whoa, that's
Yeah,
surprising.
Ooh.
What formats are you playing right now?
pretty much all the arena formats. I actually had to sell my paper collection.
Oh, okay. So I mean, at least with Corey Steelcutter, I mean, like that definitely seems like a U card. I feel like
the card is sweet.
I could I know you love Jund. Like I could just imagine you playing like a timeless Jund deck and just jamming those with Darcy and Bauble or something. I don't know. I could see it.
Yeah. I mean, it's all right. Timeless is kind of it's overrun by energy. Like it's all energy and best of 3, so it's not the most fun format. I'd rather play like pretty much anything else.
I'm gonna equip Corey Steelcutter to my 7/8 Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
Side
Or
me up.
my Nethergoyf. Yeah.
Oh god, yeah, that dang, that'd be pretty good. But okay, so those are all the Tarkir cards that we're gonna talk about. So the next thing that we're gonna talk about, speaking of Modern, we're gonna be talking about the Modern format as a whole. So a little bit of a disclaimer: I have not played Modern since Nadu was legal, but I still keep up with the format pretty consistently. I haven't as much since Tarkir Dragonstorm has came out, which I mean, obviously it's Modern. Like it's pretty rare that the format gets a shakeup from standard cards. Like obviously we were talking about Corey Steelcutter. Is it Prowess has been a deck that's been pretty good, just because obviously in a format full of like cards like Mistress Bauble, you can immediately play that on turn 2 and then play a Bauble and trigger it. It's super easy to do. So we're gonna kind of talk about the format as a whole, because from my understanding, the format is just, it obviously took a really big dive because of Nadu. It's been a while since we've talked about Modern on the podcast, because the last time we did is we were talking about cards we think could be good in Modern Horizons 3. And here we are after all the Nadu stuff that happened. And then obviously, you know, we had the second most recent banning where the One Ring finally left, and God, there was other cards too, right? I don't even remember. And then obviously we had Underworld Breach banned, and it feels like Modern is still in this weird state of like no one really cares on what's going on. I mean, is that what you guys agree with or not? Or I guess what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, so we were fairly right about a Johnny Nikado Pariah being really, really good in Modern. That card has
took some time to catch on.
Yeah. And then I said Flage was bad, and I stand by it, but it's also in the Boros Energy deck.
Dude, Flage is a brick house. You are so wrong, and I am gonna die on this hill right now. You are so wrong about Flage. Dude, Flage in Arena of Glory? Are you kidding me? Bring back my Flage on turn 4 and kill you, please? Like, what?
Home dog. It's only in one deck.
Yeah, but
it is super good in that deck. I'd play that in Burn. Get out of here. I would so play that in Burn.
Hunter, you still think Beans is good in Standard, and it's just not.
What?
Bro, that card isn't even good in Standard anymore. It's just bad.
This man is drunk.
Yeah, it's so bad because you just like die on turn 3.
Yeah, it's all aggro, man.
That is kind of true. But there was a time when Beans was quite good in Standard.
Oh yeah, before Tarkir, it was good, but it's like trash now. I don't know about trash, but it's like the only reason to not play aggro right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play Beans against a Wild Ride deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. But yeah, I mean, like, Caleb, I thought you were still playing Modern actively. Like, what are your opinions on Modern as a whole right now?
So I've taken a little bit of a break, but I think I played Modern the most recently, it sounds.
Yeah.
So before the ban, and I think this is still this way, and this might be a little bit of my meta, I am so sick of dealing with combo. At my local game store, there are like 2 to 3 amulet players. There was one breach player, and then the rest was Boros Energy, and I was playing some Necro Dominance shenanigans or Demir Murktide.
Wasn't breach the thing to do for the longest?
Yeah, breach was the thing to do for. No, but that's just because I like to look at mtgdex.net for like metagame stuff, and it looks like maybe breach is coming back a little bit.
Well, breach was
be tier tour.
To say, I know obviously Underworld Breach got banned. Is the deck still like? Is it even a deck still?
That's at least it looks like on this deck on this website. It looks like yes. It's more though of a Jeskai. It looks more Jeskai affinity than actual breach. Yeah. So it looks a little bit more like a mid-range deck.
You know what?
I don't know.
I saw. So there was a local game store I used to play at a lot, Galactic Toys. Someone won their Modern RCQ and was playing that deck. It was playing like Emery, and it was playing, I think, Steel Cutters. Yep. And yeah, I think I know what deck you're talking about. It looks like just like a Jeskai mid-range / affinity deck.
Yeah. But I don't know. It seems that I know it played Tamio. You need to be aggro, or I don't know. Combo seems to be man, I can't talk right now. Combo seems to be the meta-defining archetype, because either you need to be like Boros Energy, where you're quick enough to fight it, or you want counterspell. I don't know, but I kind of stopped just because of Amulet Titan. I can't play against 40-minute turns 3 times a night.
Have you tried casting Blood Moon?
I did think about it. Panza could be interesting.
Let me tell you about Panza.
Well, the Eldrazi ramp deck is basically Panza. Like
Yeah, you're not wrong.
That
There's no
Eldrazi
chance
deck.
that Panza, there's no way Panza's playable. There's no way.
Oh God, no! And it's
not
actually
against not actual Panza. No.
Yeah.
It's funny with Panza though. I'm in this group on Facebook. Oh God, that's so ancient. But this was from like years ago, and someone had posted like, "Hey, I'm taking this Panza list to my RCQ tomorrow. Like, what do you guys think?" And I obviously didn't say this, but I was like, "I'm thinking you should not go."
I'm thinking you should play Boros, dude.
You should stay home. Is what you should do.
You could play any other deck, and I would tell you that it was probably a better idea than playing Panza. Like, what is Panza gonna do against any of these decks? You just get so much value.
It's gonna lose.
Your Arbor Elf never survives, and then like if you play against Eldrazi, like maybe if you land a turn 2 Blood Moon, you can like stall them enough before they like start slamming Eldrazi against you. But like, I mean, Panza, what can Panza do against all these decks? Nothing. It's an old deck that just doesn't work anymore. And trust me, take it from me, I was playing it when the deck was outdated in 2018, 2019.
Panza could maybe beat Eldrazi like on the play, but that's probably the only deck it's beating in the format.
It's not beating any other deck.
Yeah.
And trying to resolve it against Boros Energy or Ruby Storm is just miserable. Like those decks play Blood Moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like they just don't care about Blood Moon. So, and you're not. And I know Merfolk's not like the most popular deck anymore, but you're not beating Merfolk. I can tell you that you're not beating Merfolk.
Yeah, so you're not beating any aggro deck.
No,
not anyone that's worth a damn.
No. So at that point, Panza's just not. It's not it. But I feel like with how the format is as a whole right now, like they tried the unbans, and I think it was like a flash in the pan. Like people got really excited, like, oh, I can play Green Sun Zenith again, and I can play Mox Opal again, and I feel like it was a good idea. But then at the end of the day, it was just kind of like, oh, well, this format still kind of stinks a little bit. Like, okay, and I feel like the trickiest thing with this format, and correct me if I'm wrong with this, guys, I feel like Modern is the hardest format to get into currently. Like, starting from the ground up, Modern just seems like a mountain to climb.
In what sense? Financially?
Financially, and just, like, learning the ins and outs of the format. Like, which I'm not necessarily counting this against Modern, but, like, Modern is a complex format. And if you want to at least understand it at a basic level, I feel like it is tougher than any of the other formats.
Legacy
Are you discarding Legacy as a format?
Obviously, Legacy, like, it is the most complicated format. I can attest to that for sure. Because I still play a lot of Legacy, and I still relatively keep up with what's going on. And yeah, there's so many ins and outs. And honestly, I think the trickiest part with Legacy is, like, you just got by these random commander cards that you didn't even know existed. Like, oh, they made that in the Tarkir Dragonstorm commander deck, and you just get, like, blown up by it.
Legacy is a dumpster fire. As bad as Modern is, it's not even close to as bad as Legacy.
We'll have to talk about that in a second. But I think with the Modern, like, it really feels like it's for, like, the seasoned players only kind of thing. I mean, is that accurate, or what do you guys think?
I don't know. So this is where I struggle. Like, I got into Modern and I played Rakdos Scam. Loved the deck. Had a lot of fun. And I spent a lot of money on Rakdos Scam. And a year and a half later, I now need to pay another $500 just to play a deck, and the deck might go away. Like, I don't know, like, that sucks. Why am I trying to get into this format, or why am I trying to even stay in this format? Not even get in, stay in.
It's hard to want to stay into Modern when it's become a rotating format. I know everybody says that, but it's so true.
It's a non-rotating rotating format.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they're constantly adding like Modern Horizon sets, or like this new supplemental Universes Beyond set's gonna only be available for a short time, and we're gonna make it modern and legacy playable. It's a soft reset of the format, and if you don't get the new cards, you're just sitting on a dumpster pile of a now tier 3 deck that is gonna get pushed out of the format in a matter of weeks because these new cards are so power crept that it just doesn't matter anymore.
Right, and one thing I like to talk about, which I know modern or like Magic is different now than it was when we, at least like 10 years ago. I was gonna say when we all started playing, but I know that some of us have played longer than 10 years ago. Like, I mean, I remember Modern Burn didn't change for years. Like there was like, I can't even remember like when I first started playing when they finally got a card that was like, wait, we have a new card we can play. Like it just wasn't a thing. Like it was when
Never.
like
Swift Spear?
yeah, like I was gonna say
Yeah,
Swift Spear
Swift Spear.
Was like the newest card like in that deck at the time, and your deck like
Before that it was Eidolon.
yeah, and it was
Eidolon,
like you bought your deck and like occasionally you got a new spicy card, or you know people figure out Death Shadow's a good card and you adjust your Grixis Delver deck to play it, but largely the format didn't change a crazy amount, and now they're making sets on a way more consistent basis that look to change up the format. Like, at least card design or set design from years ago, I remember it was like once a year, we'd always get a set that, like, they were like, hey, like, this set, we're looking to add impact cards into the older formats. So it was like, okay, like Kaladesh, like, we're gonna get something, and you got cards like Fatal Push, for instance, and Ceremonious Rejection, and like some other good, you know, different tools that you could play in some of the Eternal formats. And now you're getting these Universes Beyond / Modern Horizon sets that come in and they change up the format, and all of a sudden now you're, you know, like it doesn't feel as bad if you're playing like Pioneer, for instance. Like it doesn't rotate, obviously, so I guess that's a bad example. So like Standard, will say, generally, you know, other than some of the weird mid-range pile formats, Standard isn't crazy expensive. But if you're spending all this money on Modern and all your stuff rotates, it sucks. Like that was the reason I got out of Modern, was because I had to get into Modern Horizons 3. It's like, man, do I really want to spend $600-700 to get back into the format again? The format that isn't really that healthy and I'm not enjoying?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, Modern was in a much better place when they were doing like the Modern Masters style of sets, where it was like a lot of reprints. It was a lot of reprints. It was really catered towards the limited and drafting environment. And then there were like a sprinkling of like maybe 10 cards that are just like, hey, this card's never been in Modern before. Let's see what happens here. And then, you know, like it would shake up the format just slightly, or, you know, maybe like these 4 or 5 decks finally got new cards that pushed them from tier 2 to tier 1.5, and they're a little more viable and playable in the meta or in your local meta. But now with like the Modern Horizons sets, it's like Boros Energy wouldn't exist without the Modern Horizons 3 set, right? Like they're just printing decks into Modern at this point, and it's just
I was just
I think
I've got Boros Energy up here on Goldfish for Guide of Souls MH3, for Ocelot Pride MH3, for Ajani MH3, for Flage MH3, for Galvanic Discharge MH3, 2 Thraben Charge MH3, 2 Static Prison MH3. Yeah,
So
Ragavan MH2 at least, but like literally
Pyromancer MH1.
Yeah.
I think Modern Horizons would have been fine if they would have just did it like one and done. You know what I mean? But they just keep doing it. If they would have just did it once and never did it again, it would have been fine.
I remember when Modern Horizons was first announced, I was so excited. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And then the set came out. It was cool for about 2 seconds. And then it was like, okay, well, let's take a look at the set. We got like 2 really broken cards, a bunch of annoying cards, and then a lot of really bad chaff cards like Conifer Worm and a bunch of stuff that meant nothing. Like it was just, I don't know. Like, and then it just kind of got worse from there. I don't know.
I think Hogak was a miserable card. I did not want to play Modern during that time because playing against Hogak decks were just horrible.
Hogak,
it feels like they push like a couple cards and they get banned pretty quickly. But then, like, all the other really, really good cards just kind of dominate the format, and no one really cares.
Like
Yeah.
Force Negation, Urza were both in the first Modern Horizons set.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying
like,
to.
It's like they all kind of like level each other. It's not like there's this big standout. It's just like a pile of broken cards, and then you have to buy them
Yeah,
all.
I must say, like Hogak obviously was like your flash in the pan, annoying broken deck or whatever. It was really the Force cycle for me is what started making me not like Modern as much, to be honest with you.
Crashing Footfalls, Coney.
I actually think Force of Negation was kind of a good addition.
I
Hogak,
actually agree. Yeah,
card.
I
Red
liked
and
Force
Six, oh my
Negation.
God.
I didn't care for Force of Vigor.
I've played a
Yeah.
lot of Force of Vigor, and I hate how good the card was. Like, it was just like, all right, so here's what my sideboard looks like. All right, I'm automatically playing 2 to 3 of those. And, like, I don't know. Like, for me, it was just Modern. Because I used to play a lot of Legacy, and the one thing I liked about Modern was, like, other than a few, like, really weird cards, it was generally, like, if you're tapped out, you're tapped out. And
Yes.
Modern changed, obviously, with that, but, like, just the efficiency of these cards were so good. Like, obviously, Force Negation and Force of Vigor were good, and then the other 3, like, sucked. Like, they were so bad. Like, we went from, like, incredibly awesome, and then the other 3 were just horrible.
I think the pitch elementals were a lot more toxic than any of the, like, Force cards.
Yes.
Oh, God.
That was, like, the line for me. Because, like, the format went from being like, okay, maybe you get Force Negation, but that generally, like, stops broken things from happening. And then we went to the elementals, which is like, they were all busted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, nobody was trying to do fair stuff, and everyone just assumed you had free spells to interact, even when you were tapped out.
You know what's funny is when they came out, everybody thought, or at least a lot of the people I talked to thought Force of Endurance was like the strongest one, and it ended up being kind of the weakest one.
Oh,
but that wasn't because that one was bad. It was because all the other ones were so good.
Yeah, they're so good.
It's like Grief and Fury were insane. And Subtlety's still the worst one. Like, Subtlety, if that was the only one that existed,
I don't know, man. I don't know. Subtlety's pretty decent too.
The problem is like they're
the
all
only
good.
One that still sees play.
They're all good. Like, that's the thing is, like, even the worst one is still a really good card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, like Endurance, like, maybe I'm unbiased, but, like, you know how many times, like, Endurance has bailed me out constantly in this metagame? It'd be like, Eli, it's like the tank. It's like the meme where it's like the big tank, and it's like Eli's bad deck, and then I'm slapping it, and it's like Endurance. Like, that was me with Endurance.
Endurance seems like the fairest one.
It is, because it's defensive, right? But, like, single-handedly ended a bunch of graveyard decks that were running around.
Good. I hated fucking Living End.
Well, I mean, good riddance, right? Like, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, like, the point of the conversation was that MH2 and 3, for the most part, although 1 was bad too,
I will say getting
the format.
Yeah,
format warp.
I will say getting my Endurance Subtlety pissed me off so bad. I'm trying to stop your thing. Fuck you.
But yeah, like, I feel like we had the MH2, MH1 discussion the last time. It still holds true. Like, it's Modern is it's just such a weird format, and to a certain extent I'm okay with dealing with some weird formats because, you know, eventually, like, things pass eventually, right? You know, like, cards will maybe get banned in Standard, or, you know, cards will rotate, or even like Pioneer, like, eventually cards just kind of fall out of favor. But with, like, Modern, it's like, okay, well, this is the set we got, now we're stuck with it for the next, like, you know, 3 months, unless something gets really broken. And
well, and it infects Timeless too, because, like, I really enjoyed Timeless, but now it's, if you queue up, you're gonna queue into like 3 energy decks in a row, and shit gets old. You know, I don't want to play against energy over and over and over again.
Right, and I think Wizards of the Coast needs to take, and I mean, maybe you guys might disagree with me on this, and I understand the financial aspects of it, but I think Wizards of the Coast needs to take a more aggressive approach on maybe not even just Modern, but non-rotating formats in general.
In what sense? A banning or what?
Not just like more willingness to listen to the community and like if people don't want to play modern, like figure out at least that specific problem and then maybe try to fix it.
The problem with listening to a community though is so many people are stupid. You know what I mean? You're getting pulled in a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a big group of people that are like, no, this is great. There's nothing wrong.
And I agree with that, but then there's also like the whole like Breach is way too good, and everyone knew it, and Wizards is still like, okay, like we don't have the BNR until this time, like I guess we'll just have to wait. And so basically they allowed Modern to suck for a while. And same thing with Nadu. Like everyone knew that Nadu was going to get banned. Like my wife doesn't keep up with Modern,
even
and she knew Nadu was going to get banned. And like
even the Nadu players knew, and that's rare.
Right.
The actual players knew that.
Right. And the fact that they didn't like take a more aggressive approach and be like, okay, enough's enough. We care about the health of the game. Let's get this out of here, you know? Like, the fact that they ruined a regional championship and half of an RCQ season just to, like, you know, follow their own guidelines that they set is just kind of seems silly to me.
Well, but that makes sense for Nadu, but in a broader sense of the format as it is today, like, I don't know what you do to, like, do you just ban, like, Ocelot Pride and a Johnny and Ruby and like I mean what do you do? Because these cards are just out there. You can't ban like all of MH3.
I think the format's just kind of screwed, you know what I mean? You just gotta like
here's what we gotta do.
A non MH modern, you know.
Here's what we gotta do. We gotta make another Modern Horizon set to make cards that are better than all those cards.
Yeah,
that's what they're gonna do. That's what they'll do.
That's been the design philosophy, right? It's like instead of banning cards or instead of not printing a bunch of bombs into the format, they just do arms race mentality. And they're like, well, we can build a better deck, right? And that'll change the format.
Well, it also makes them money. So that's the route they're always going to take, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. But
yeah.
This might be a bit of a controversial opinion, but...
From you?
I know, right? I believe that in order to fix what Modern is now, they need to take what Modern is now, make it its own format, and then make a quote-unquote modern format that is a traditional format that only follows actual set releases that are like in-universe, quote-unquote, like how Pioneer does.
Yeah. No supplementary sets, yeah.
No supplemental sets whatsoever.
Which, yeah, I think...
I agree.
Which honestly is as much as that would like quote unquote fix everything, or at least a lot of the issues that some people have with the Modern Horizon sets, like in a way that's kind of what they made Pioneer out to be. Is they're like, okay, it's all the standard stuff from Return to Ravnica. You don't have to worry about like Goryo's Vengeance and Through the Breach and like a Mox Opal. But then there's also this fine line of like cards that people would like to play that aren't good enough in Modern, but you can't play in Pioneer, for instance. And I don't think Wizards of the Coast, who is spending, well, I say they're spending all this money. At the end of the day, we're spending the money for all these licensing. Like, if Wizards of the Coast is spending all this money to get all of these IPs for, like, Universes Beyond, as well as, like, spend all this time and money investing in Modern Horizons, it'd be kind of weird for them to be like, oh, it's a Modern Horizons card, so you can play it in Modern, but you can only play it in Modern. You can't play it in pure Modern, for instance, or whatever you would hypothetically call this.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like it would cause confusion, but I feel like it would fix a lot of the problems, though. You know what I mean?
I think that's the only way to make a playable format out of Modern without significant bans. Like, you just kind of have to do a hard reset on the format because there's just too many unfun cards.
Yeah, but I don't see how they could do that. I don't see how that's possible.
I don't think they will because they're not incentivized to.
They're not just going to take 3 sets out of the format. Like, you know what I mean?
No.
Well, I mean, but even if they kept the format and they just made like, you know, like non-rotating Modern, like non-supplemental Modern, whatever you want to call it. Like, they have to do that because they don't sell cards that way.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure how you would navigate that. I feel like the only ways you could make something like that is like it would have to be so non-traditional and non-magic way of doing it. Like if you made like kind of what like Legacy is to Vintage, if you made that with Modern, where it's like, okay, it's modern legal sets, but with like a way stricter ban list, and I just don't think that's feasible.
Yeah. I think the format's just kind of fucked. You know what I mean? Like, just gotta play it, Pioneer and whatever else.
And you want to know what sucks?
Yeah,
like Modern was great until really Modern Horizons 2.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I really enjoyed.
I mean, other than Hogak.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Hogak's like the okay. We made a mistake once. Like all right, and maybe throw.
Yeah, it's one card. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Like whatever. And Urza was really annoying though. I'll say. But other than that, it's like okay.
But I don't think Urza was as big of a problem. You know what I mean? Like there's ways around Urza.
They're gonna make some mistakes.
Urza's a beatable card.
Right, like if Hogak was the only card from MH3 that ruined the format and they banned it, like, okay. We saw a problem, we identified it, we fixed it. No big deal. We've done that before in a bunch of different formats. But that's not the problem with Modern.
Hot take, maybe what they should do when they do another Modern Horizon set, why don't we just do reprints? Why don't we not worry about any new cards? We just
go back to Modern Masters.
But we introduce new cards into the format too that are reprints. So
that'd be
like just.
I like the idea of just going back to Modern Masters. Like fuck it.
Oh, I'm fine with that too. Like, but you would have a set where it's basically Modern Masters, where it's, you have all your good reprints, some of your pricey stuff, it goes down, whatever, and then you just introduce new cards into the format without having to, you just have to worry about like, okay, what's a Wild Growth? Is that? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, let's add that through. Let's put that in the set. And like you go through with like at this point like True Name Nemesis or like weird commander cards and stuff. Like
nope.
Well, you don't like True Name?
No True Names, dude.
No True Names.
I think True Name would be fine, but I also don't want to play against it.
Exactly.
So actually, I think there is a I'm gonna do a little bit of a transition here. Podcast transitions are really good when you call them out. Yeah. I think this actually kind of ties in to my thought on our next topic, about like how to make FNMs more popular, and I kind of think that we need to be trying to find a way to make Modern more fun for the casually competitive person.
Make Modern great again 2025.
I know the way how to solve this, actually. Believe it or not.
Yeah. You tell.
We got to get rid of all these darn net deckers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Same thing. But really, if you think about it, if everyone gets so sweaty, and I was part of the problem. I'll tell myself I was a little sweaty, where I just wanted to play a really good deck, and okay, let me just figure out Rakdos Scam. That was it, and I enjoyed playing Rakdos Scam, but I don't know, I think to make Modern better, and also FNM more popular, we need to figure out a way to make competitive Magic for casuals more fun.
Guys, we just need to use the bracketed system in Modern. Oh my god.
We just say there's a certain budget for non-lands. You get like a $150 or $200 budget for your non-land cards.
Here's what you do with lands.
Kind of
your lands,
a nightmare, though.
Your lands can't deal you damage. That's the easiest way to fix it.
How would that?
Yikes.
You can't play any lands that would deal damage to you in some way.
Oh, I see.
So you can't play the fetches, the shocks. I guess you can't play the pan
can't
lands.
do anything ever.
Nope, no barbarian ring
that would-
for you.
that would like slow down the format, but I don't know how good it would make it.
I think
Still terrible.
I think doing anything budgetary wise, you can't do official play on that. Like the only thing
No.
that I've seen even take off is like that value vintage, which is pretty cool. But that's like a whole separate thing. That's not even close to what you could do with this. Like, I think the easiest thing though is like with like again, modern, you can't make it a casual format. Or like in terms of like actually I guess that's it. You can't make it a casual format. Like I've even tried to get people into playing Pioneer because like, hey, it's like a third of the price and you can still play a lot of cool cards. Like, well, but I really want to play Squirrel Nest and I can't play that in Pioneer. And it's like, okay, well, like
Can't play that in Modern either.
yeah, well that's the point is like some people want to play Modern. They want to play their really, really bad deck. And to a certain extent, it's like, whatever, like deal with current Modern play. And this isn't even necessarily about like, I want Stormbreath Dragon to be good in Modern, so let's ban all these cards. It has nothing to do with that. It's the fact that like Modern is so top heavy that you really can't play anything else.
No, I mean you see that sometimes, right? Like at a local game shop where somebody will come in with their pet deck or their brew and they'll just get absolutely run over. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, you feel so bad.
Yeah.
Do you?
I never do.
I mean, like, dude, you gotta learn the hard way, right? You gotta learn at some point.
So
I definitely had to learn the hard way. Nobody was nice
took
to me,
pity
man.
on Hunter back in the day.
No pity for Hunter.
so
But it would be nice if you could kind of brew a deck a little bit though, right? You know what I mean? Like if you didn't have to play a meta deck.
Yes.
So
you could actually do well with like a somewhat brew.
So I want to mention this too with, I was joking about the net decker thing earlier and what Caleb said after this. So for the people that probably already wrote the comment in the comment section as I'm saying this, so there is a strong difference between building a good deck in a format and net decking. I want to be so clear. I hate the term net decking, but it's really just like the common term. So net decking itself is specifically building a deck because you're like, I want to win at F&M, or all I want to do is win. I don't care how I do it. I just want to win. That's net decking. Building a good deck is not necessarily net decking. Caleb, for instance, loves playing Rakdos mid-range decks. And Ziggy loves playing Izzet decks, or, red decks or blue decks. Just because Ziggy builds Izzet, Phoenix, and Pioneer, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's a net decker. And you want to know what? If he is, who cares? That's the other thing. Who
honestly,
cares?
Some people's skill set is not building decks, and you know what I mean. That's okay.
Yep.
They should still be able to be able to compete in the game. They might have a different skill set. If their skill set's not building decks, they should have a resource for that.
And the thing is, Friday Night Magic, although it's very casual, Friday Night Magic is still generally considered a tournament. And if you're entering a tournament, you want to have realistically, the best tools available to you to be able to win. Like, at the end of the day, Magic, it's a social game, blah, blah, blah. It's a game. You generally want to win the game. So why would you not give yourself the best tools to be able to win? Yeah, exactly, Commander. If you're bracketed 3 or below, you don't want to win the game. We're just here to mess around. So that's I wanted to go off on that tangent a little bit with net decking, because I hear that term all the time, and it drives me nuts. And it's like, oh, Commander Crane's a net decker. God, I am looking at about 12 decks right now on my table, and not a single one of those is a tier deck. Like, so...
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing in, games generally. The more that the internet has been around and people have, kind of pooled their collective knowledge about games, the more that people are prepared ahead of time and there are defined strategies. That doesn't make the game less good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Agree.
What was that, sir?
I said also agree.
Yeah. So, okay. I guess, does anyone else have any other remaining comments, at least for modern format discussion? I know kind of what we were talking about at the end here is going to kind of be part of our next topic here, but didn't know if anyone else had any other comments.
Fuck modern. Just play a different format.
That's my best advice.
Second.
It's right now, there's no reasonable fix for it.
Yeah. Like if
Just
you
play
don't
different
if you don't currently play Modern, don't buy into it.
Don't get into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not worth it.
I mean, I guess you could buy some fetches if you really wanted to because they're really cheap, but I wouldn't do anything past that. So I'm seriously like, I think you can get Foothills for like $9 right now. It's ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
That is
My life.
horribly ridiculous.
Yeah. So I know it felt bad because I sold a bunch of my Modern stuff the other day, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll give you a few $100." I'm like, I paid a lot more than that. So, because I mean, God, I remember my cons moderate played Foothills were like $35 when I bought them back in the day, each, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Yikes.
Oh yeah.
Rough.
So,
Ugh,
but anyways, so okay, so our next topic that we're going to talk about is how to fix Friday Night Magic. So, everyone here has been playing for quite some time. Caleb has experienced this, but not to the prime of what some of us have established. So I remember when I first started playing, which was 10 years ago now at this point, I remember every F&M, like even the smaller shops, still had 15 people was a kind of smaller F&M. Like we had some giant F&Ms. You know, pre-release nights, you'd have 30 plus people F&Ms. Some of these big stores, 50 or 60 people F&Ms, and then people would play for pre-release, and it was fun. It was just, it was awesome. It was awesome. Like I'd cut off a finger to go back to a 2015, 2016 modern F&M and go, jam Wilt-Leaf Lieges until my heart's content. So
yeah, man. Me too.
So what could, not necessarily the player base, this is more just what can Wizards of the Coast do? What can they do to entice people to go back to Friday Night Magic? Like, what can we do to get butts in seats? So Ryan, I'm going to start with you, Ryan, because from my understanding, I think either you or Cody have been playing the longest. What are your thoughts, I guess, on what people could do?
It's tough because I don't know that the answer is what can people do. So my thought on it is I've been playing since, well, competitively since Scars of Mirrodin, but realistically since like Invasion Block. And you're absolutely right. When I started back in Scars, going to events, F&Ms, IQs, pre-releases, I mean, they were jam-packed. The first pre-release I went to had like 120 people at it. And that just doesn't happen anymore, at least in, the area we're in.
I think the biggest I've heard recently, sorry to cut you off, I think the biggest I've seen was at Galactic Toys in Kentwood in Grand Rapids. I think they had 90 for the Foundation's pre-release. I think that's the biggest I've ever heard of with it, like, post-COVID.
Yeah, I mean, that's not bad. But, like, so I think that, for me, the biggest problem is oversaturation. And what I mean by that is they just keep printing sets. Yeah. Back in what I'll call the good old days, the boomer days, there were just 4 sets a year. And that's it.
Yeah.
And they were very predictable. You knew exactly what they were going to be. You knew exactly when the pre-releases were going to be. You knew you wanted to open the set because those were the only cards that you were going to get to update your standard, modern. There was no Pioneer back then, but, to update your decks. So you just showed up to the pre-release because you wanted to open the new set. You wanted to get the cards. And then you would show up to F&M because, the format was consistent. And like we've been talking about, that's just not what Magic is anymore. Like, don't even get me started on, like, the Universes Beyond stuff, but even just all the Horizon sets, all the Secret Lair stuff, all the other supplemental stuff. You just can't buy that much Magic. You just can't afford it.
On top of not being able to afford it, you just kind of get burnt out on giving a shit, right? Like, it's hard to care about every set when they come out every week, it seems like. You know what I mean? Yeah. Obviously, it's not that much, but they're coming out so often, it's just like, I'm having a hard time caring about keeping up with all these cards.
Right. Like, we went from, like, 4 sets a year in the yearly Commander stuff to, like, now it's like, it feels like we're always in spoiler season. We're always in spoiler season. Yeah. And now, for us specifically, we never really cared about the Universes Beyond stuff because it was either not any format legal or it was just like modern, kind of like Assassin's Creed and your Lord of the Rings, and like, so half the time I didn't even have to care about spoiler season, but now I have to care about every single spoiler season, which I mean is a good and bad problem depending on which way you look at it. But yeah, like realistically now, the average like player back in the day, it was 4 pre-releases a year. Occasionally they started doing your Battle Bonds and your Modern Horizons. You'd maybe play in those. But like now, like realistically, the cost to just like continue to play Magic at a basic level is so much higher. Like now, what you need to do, like even if you just went to the pre-releases, did a few drafts, and went to F&M, like it's so much higher now. Because like I mean, like every other month, yeah, it's literally pre-release time, and like it adds up. It really does. Like Magic is already an expensive hobby, and they're making it way more expensive now.
Yeah. So on that note,
that's the thing. Like, oh, go ahead, Hunter.
So real quick on that note, I looked it up. We are currently a quarter of the way through the year of 2025. We have already had 3 set releases, like in general, 2 being in standard. Yeah. There are slated another 4 sets released to come out, and at least 3 of them are going to be in standard, if not all of them.
Yeah, it's just impossible to keep up with. Like
it's horrible.
Yeah, and like so to your point, Eli, back in the day, like there were supplemental sets. Like you would get your Modern Masters, you would get your Battle Bond, you would get your conspiracy. Yeah. But like if you didn't care about what that set was doing, you could ignore it. It like the Commander sets too. Like it just didn't impact your life in any way unless you played Legacy and one of those cards broke into Legacy. That was it.
But they just keep pushing it. Now with like Final Fantasy coming into standard and stuff, it's just a path I don't like that we're going down. It's just going to keep, they're just going to keep putting this shit into, standard, honestly, or whatever.
You know? And like they think that's going to get people excited to play standard, but it's not about just putting stuff people want to play in standard to get them to want to play standard. It's about making the game consistent and affordable, and that's not what all this supplemental stuff does.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've actually a slightly different take.
Boo! No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. I don't think the problem is with Wizards, because really at the end of the day, Wizards is going to do what they're going to do. They can't be affected. Right now, they are Hasbro's cash cow. They are going to keep printing Magic cards because that is printing money. What instead we should be doing to make F&M more appealing for people to go to are doing fun events. Now, like for instance, I'm not saying that this exactly, but there's a store a couple towns away from me, Mom's Basement Games, and they have a Commander League. And so I know I can hear the groans. Just stick with me for 2 seconds. You start with a pre-con.
I already left.
Yeah. Well, let me tie it in a little bit. So like you start with a pre-con, and then each week you get you can buy 3 packs and you can add to the packs. And then this is a league, and like so it's a league, and then whoever at the end wins. Like there's prizing for it. Like there is enough prizing that like the first prize of this league is $300. But instead of doing like this for Commander, like you could do this for draft. So like let's say you have a draft league.
Yeah.
And
they used to do sealed leagues back in the day. Not to cut you off, Caleb, but they used to do sealed ones back in the day, like every set.
Yeah, like that sounds like fun. Or like you could I don't know, just figuring out ways to not worry about what Wizards is doing and more of being creative in the store itself, because really that's where the change is going to happen. It's not going yeah.
What I think you're saying is kind of a different way of saying what I'm saying, which is like, regardless of whether it's Wizards or the player base, what people want is the ability to go to a store and have a consistently good play experience. Mm-hmm. And when Standard or Pioneer or Modern is just like being flipped over on its head every 3 to 6 months, you can't get that by playing standard constructed formats. I mean, like Pioneer's decent in my opinion, but the point stands. But whether it's a league or whether it's, doing something about the supplemental sets, the goal is to create a consistent play environment where I know I can go to the shop every Friday, play my deck. It's not going to be overly expensive. It's not going to be completely tossed out the door in 3 months by some new supplemental set. And I can just have a good time playing the game. And that's what whether it's Wizards or whether it's your local game store or whether it's your play group, that's what you're looking for. And I think that's why people like Commander so much, even though this podcast does not.
Honestly,
because you can just find a good play group and have a consistently good play experience.
Honestly,
but even Commander is like, even Commander is like crap as a format as it's always been. It's gotten even worse because now they're like pretty much designing your decks for you, right? They print cards that like it would be kind of dumb not to play. Like if you control your commander, this is just free. Why wouldn't you play that? You know what I mean?
And I think honestly, for what you said, Ryan, for what you were talking about, like in terms of play experience, it's gonna sound so biased, but it kind of sounds like Pioneer in terms of the intention of the format and what you can do.
I agree.
Like if you want to build your deck,
the closest that you can get to that these days.
And that's why I like the format so much. Like what is it? I'm trying to remember the analogy I used earlier, but basically like the gap between the best decks and good decks is not that big in Pioneer.
Yeah, and also it's non-rotating.
My biggest issue with Pioneer is it's just like not enough time yet. It's too similar to Standard to me. I would like it to be, I mean, it just needs more time.
I mean, part of it is
the longer it's around, the more different from Standard.
Right, and part of the issue is there's a 13-year gap, at least from the start of Pioneer. The problem is, depending on the way you look at it, is like they're just making like with I don't want to say power creep, but the powerful cards that they're making, like Recruitment Officer is largely better than Soldier of the Pantheon. And like, obviously, like, this maybe is a bad example, but Tranquil Throwback is better than Thrashing Brontodon, and Shieldred is better than Kalidas, and like
nobody knows your dinosaurs yet.
Right, but like, so like they just keep making stronger cards for Standard, and it's just like Pioneer, or at least Modern back in the day, was the intention of your cards would rotate and you'd still have a good home to play your Standard cards, which maybe this is a hot take, but I kind of like the fact that Standard is relatively strong in conjunction with Pioneer, because if anything, it could further incentivize people like, hey, I have this Standard deck, I could just buy like a few of X card and I could just play some Pioneer. Like, why not? I've already got this blue-white soldier deck in Standard or whatever, and I could just get some Thalizu tenants and just absolutely crush people.
Well, I think that's part of the problem, though, actually, because Standard used to be a relatively low-power format, obviously with some exceptions. We'll talk about that in a minute, too. But it was a good format where newer players could kind of get a feel for the game. And now you go to Standard, and it's like, turn 1 threat, turn 2 threat, pump spell, burn spell, you're dead. And it's like, okay, I didn't even get to cast my cool spells. Like, there needs to be a place for that in the game.
Facts, yeah.
And that's Pioneer.
We call that limited.
We call it limited, yeah.
Yes. But, like, for constructed... Limited is too expensive to be the regular F&M format.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So,
what's interesting to me though is, a lot of people think of like, what do people think of as the best? Maybe not the best Standard, but often thought of as one of the best Standard is like Gatecrash Theros, right?
Hold that thought, Cody. That's going to be our next topic. Okay. So, real quick, before I hop into my point that I want to drive home here with how to fix Friday Night Magic, I feel like, Hunter, I don't feel like you gave your opinion really on this, so I want you to have the floor real quick.
In my personal, it's kind of like the same as everybody else. Like, it used to be a time where we would depend on wizards themselves to, do extra for the player base that actually showed up and played the game and rewarded them for playing it, and it incentivized them to keep showing up, to keep playing, to keep going to events. But now that, as everybody else has already said, that like it's turned into Hasbro's cash cow. They're not really catering to like players like us who actually want to show up and play like slightly more competitive, do it that kind of way. They're now catering towards like the very niche population of people who just play because the cards look cool, or they want to play like these pet cards on their kitchen table and stuff along those lines. So we're probably going to see more and more of these like supplemental in universes, like universes beyond style sets to cater towards more or less like those people. So it really is, at the end of this day, it's going to depend on like the community to kind of come together and start finding ways to still have fun playing the game that we love to play.
Right. So, all right, here's my driving point with how to fix Friday Night Magic. So, I have some, like, I want to say ideas on how to potentially help, get people to start going back to Friday Night Magic, as well as get people into Friday Night Magic, in a way to kind of put Friday Night Magic in a specific direction. Okay, so Friday Night Magic, it's seen as a casual thing. It feels that in many areas it has turned into not so much a casual thing. And the reason I mean that is because when Wizards of the Coast started pushing Commander at the level they did, essentially all of your casual FNM level players gravitated toward Commander. COVID obviously pushed that over the edge because, that was really the only thing you could play feasibly was Commander with specific people. And with the amount of people that just said, okay, I don't need 60 card, I'm just going to play Commander, whatever, casually, it really killed a lot of the Friday Night Magic crowd. A lot of stores had, you had like your grinders, your like day 2 Grand Prix guys, kind of like us. And then you had like your middle ground people, and then you had your newbies / like super casual guys. But all the casuals and like the newbies, and not to be mean, but the not as good FNM players, they all went to Commander. So now the only people that really are looking to play Friday Night Magic are the competitive people. So I feel like in that sense, Wizards of the Coast also manages Standard, Pioneer, and Modern. They manage it as if it's for everyone, and realistically, it's the competitive players are the one that's playing it. So is there an argument that they need to start managing their formats from the competitor? I got a weird pop-up on my thing. I'll wait an hour.
You're saying Commander is ruining the game. I'm on board.
I ruined Friday Night Magic. That's the point I'm gonna make now. So here's the thing: do we either incentivize competitive players, like let's say even like the people that there's a lot of competitive players that have no interest in going to Friday Night Magic. Do we start enticing those people to start coming to Friday Night Magic, or do we start incentivizing the Commander players to start coming to Friday Night Magic? And when I mean Friday Night Magic, I don't mean, oh, well, my shop, we play Commander on Friday nights. I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about that.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Like, at the Griffin's Rest, we play Commander every Friday night. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about playing Standard or Pioneer or Modern or Legacy or Vintage.
A non-multiplayer format. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but you also kind of get with Wizards now, though, right?
What was that, sorry?
Like, you also kind of feel that that's what Wizards is pushing towards, is that casual Commander crowd. Because it used to be when a standard set would come out, it would be like there's a lot of cards that are coming out in this set that are going to actually like do something for the standard format. And then there was like maybe 3 to 4, like 5 on a good day cards that you could like play in Commander or might see play in Commander. And now it feels like it's the exact opposite, where like standard sets are coming out and it's just like, hey, look at these 15 to 20 cards that we put in this set that you can get for Commander super cheap now in standard. And then look at these like 3 cards that are actually going to make a difference in the standard format.
Right. So, back to kind of what I was saying though, is I think they need to pick a lane. They either need to cater to, at least for Friday Night Magic, they want to cater to the casual people, and that's fine. Okay, so if that's the path you're going to take, then do that. You need to make it more accessible for people, kind of like what Ryan was talking about with all the sets coming out and all the craziness. I think, and this is, I don't like universes beyond being standard legal, but the one thing I will vouch for is it really sucks when, and I can speak from this personally because this happened to a friend of mine where he bought all these Lord of the Rings cards, and then I was like, yeah, you basically can't play those anywhere except Commander. So the fact that if people buy into these new IPs and such, at least they can play them in any format. Like, okay, I'm buying Final Fantasy. I can play it in Standard. I can play it in Pioneer. I can play it in Modern. I can play it in Commander. At least you can play these cards regardless of what Magic is happening at your local game store. So I will say
that's a good point. I'd rather they just didn't exist, but that's a good point.
Oh, I completely agree on that. So here's the driving point that I'm trying to say. Ideas to fix Friday Night Magic. Number one, I think they need to bring back good FNM promos. I do like the standard packs are cool. Believe me, I love the promo pack cards. Like, that's most of my decks that I like to build with when I'm pimping a deck out. But I think they need to bring back a lot of those good FNM promos, because I remember in the past when, like, they did Path to Exile and they did Fatal Push. I know that was a big one. When they did all these really cool standard cards, it made people want to go to Friday Night Magic. It was like, oh my gosh, I can try to win this $30 promo card. Like, that's awesome. I think they should bring those back. Like, just every month, start coming out with new promo cards, and it's a guaranteed thing that, you can make a, like a participation promo. I think it's better if you personally do it as like a limited thing. Like, it's like top 5 gets them or something like that. I know they were trying to make efforts with that with the store championships, but what really killed the store championships, in my opinion, is the fact that they made it standard only, which drives me into my second point, is open it back up to Standard, Pioneer, or Modern. I think that they need to do that, because not every store plays Standard. And you want to know what? A lot of stores said, well, we can't do Modern or Pioneer, so I guess we're just not doing it. So now all these stores are sitting on these store championship promos that they end up just raffling off to the Commander people on Saturday nights. So
I like the idea of cool promos back, and I think another thing that would help that is not printing like 4 arts for every card. They should stop doing that shit too.
That would help tremendously. Like, make it a foil, or like it's the same art but like a cool border, or like, I don't know. They could figure something out. Whatever. They do all this wacky stuff. I'll let them do the thinking of that. But anyways, so I think they need to bring back cool promos, and then obviously open the store championship back up. I really think and the third thing is, I think they're kind of working on it right now, is bring back the player reward system / like the Planeswalker points, but like revamp it. I know that they're currently working on a system to try to connect people playing on Arena and in store, so you kind of get benefits for going to Friday Night Magic on Arena. But I also think that it'd be cool to just like incentivize people to come play Standard and Pioneer and Modern. Like, not that I'm not trying to hate on Commander all of a sudden, but make it to where Friday Night Magic is like, it's a tournament. Like, I don't want to say don't allow Commander at Friday Night Magic, but like, Friday Night Magic should be defined as a 60-card constructed tournament or limited. Like, that's what Friday Night Magic should be classified at. Like, because if I think like Friday Night Magic, I don't think Commander. I think of tournaments, like I just mentioned. And I think that incentivizing players to want to go play, which again, if you want to make it casual oriented, that's fine. Like, find a good way to get those people into playing Standard and Pioneer again. The Challenger decks was a fantastic thing. I can't tell you how many players, like Standard and Pioneer, just picked up a Challenger deck, bought some sleeves, and played Friday Night Magic. I can't tell you how many times I saw that happen. And if they made more of those, I think that would help quite a bit as well. Those were my kind of driving points on how you could potentially fix Friday Night Magic. Again, you just got to make these Commander players just want to play other formats. And the thing is, too, is a lot of the time they enjoy it. That's the thing. And, some of the Commander players, like, everyone's different. Some of them got tired of losing to the Ziggies and the Hunters and the Codys of Friday Night Magic, and then they're like, okay, well, I'm just going to go play and beat up my friends in Commander. And that's fine. Whatever. FNM is not clearly for you then. But just, I don't know. I feel like the core of, like, how to fix these formats or how to get people to play. Because again, we go to these like NRG events and these SCG events, and there's people that want to play. They all want to play competitive Magic. How can we get those people who maybe don't go to FNM a lot, how can we get them to go back to Friday Night Magic?
I like your suggestion that some kind of link up needs to be happening with Arena and like physical play. Because if you asked me this question 5 years ago, my answer would have been Arena is the problem. People are just playing on Arena. And that's not a bad thing, but it does hurt the local game store environment.
I do have something to piggyback off on the back of that. I did attend a Tarkir Dragonstorm pre-release, and in doing the companion app, obviously entering into the event and all that other kind of BS, I then booted up Arena a couple of days later, and I was given 6 packs free for attending the pre-release. I didn't have to redeem anything. The packs were already there when I booted the game up. It was in my mail. I went and clicked claim it, and I had 6 free packs. So, like, I didn't need to enter in the code like you used to. So that goes to show that they are putting some work in trying to link that kind of stuff up in a real capacity.
That's good, cool, but I also did the whatever Tarkir pre-release, and it varies for store to store, but the price support was absolutely awful. It was completely. I didn't want to do another one. You know what I mean? I think they need to incentivize in that way too. The price support should be decent, and if it needs to be cost a little more or whatever, that's fine. But it should be appealing to win, not just like, okay, here's my 3 packs, I guess. That doesn't feel that good,
Like, okay, hear me out. Okay, I know what we talked about with cool promos, we talked about this. Okay, so maybe in a month, obviously it varies for each month, has more Fridays than the other ones. So maybe it's like, okay, so each store gets their May 2025 Friday Night Magic kits. So let's say there's 5 Fridays in this month of May. So you have your FNM winter promo, and then it comes with, like, let's say 4 of the same promo, except it doesn't say like winner or something, like a little stamp. So it comes with 5 sets of those, and then there's the pre-release that month. So then it comes with your kit of like everyone gets a foil or an old bordered foil of some cool card in the set. Doesn't even have to be a rare, it can be a rare. But then you have your winner promo, kind of like what they do with the store championship, but instead do that with pre-release. Maybe that's an idea.
I love that idea.
So I don't know, because it's like, oh, hey, the pre-release foil or the pre-release thing was a foil stock up or some old border stock up, and then the winning promo was I don't know, what's that stupid Death Shadow card? The Last Ride or whatever would have been Aether Drift. And like, I don't know. Just, again, incentivize people to win, because like, oh, dude, there's a $50 promo card that's up for grabs here. So it gives your competitive players something to work for, but then you feel like your casual crowd got their bang for their buck. Like, I got this cool promo card. I could maybe even trade it for a few bucks if I wanted to, but at the very least, I got something for showing up.
Yeah.
So, because I don't know, I just remember them doing really cool promo cards back in the day, and it always felt like, because sometimes people are like, I could go to FNM, but I don't think I'm going to. But then if it's like, oh, if there's a promo or something there, like, I'm going. Like, you'd be surprised how many more people can go to Friday Night Magic when there's things at stake.
Yeah, there's got to be stakes. I agree with you. There's got to be a reason to go. And it's got to be more than just, I want to jam some games. Because people can do that on Arena, and people can do that at home and like with their buddies playing Commander.
Right.
There's got to be a draw.
Or hear me out on this one. Yeah. Like, let's say, and this would be a little trickier to track, and not every game store is as honest. Like, imagine they did a point system for each shop specifically. Like, you would still be connected to like your Wizards of the Coast account. And imagine, like, at the end of every month, whoever had the most, like, match points at the end of the month, like, each store is sent, like, the May local game store champion promo, and there's one, and whoever has the most match points in Friday Night Magic that month, like, gets that promo card or something.
They did something like that way back in the day. They had the F&M championships, and like the top, I don't know, 100 people in each state, 50, I don't know, like some number, went to like some F&M championship, and it was like a big tournament with a lot of prize money. And so like the more wins you got at F&M, you could earn your way onto this cool tournament. My buddy actually went to that.
Oh, okay. I even remember back in the day.
The problem is they just don't care. They don't care about competitive Magic. Wizards doesn't anymore.
That's part of the problem. Yeah, is that they don't want to incentivize that if they can make their money on Commander product.
Yeah.
You don't know what's a way though that they could still make money and still have people go to Friday Night Magic? Give the Commander people a reason to start playing Friday Night Magic, because then they got to start buying even more packs to start getting all their singles they need. And you know how Commander players are. They're like, man, I really need a Shieldred for Standard, but it could be in the box. You know how much I always wanted one? It's like...
I'll buy $200 worth of packs.
yeah. Ha, I found my Shieldred.
We're really bagging on Commander players tonight.
And to be clear, I really don't have anything against Commander players. It's just specific Magic players that coincidentally happen to also play Commander. It's not Commander players specifically. Because there's
some offense, Commander players. Some offense.
Some offense, yeah.
So, I don't know. I went on this large rant about fixing Friday Night Magic. I guess, does anyone else have any comments on the things I'd said or any other branching ideas from that?
No, I think we've about covered it.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I also just got a message. Caleb had to go. He is a good dad, so he had to go. Caleb, thank you so much for joining the podcast and giving your insight. I also do appreciate Caleb's insight because a lot of us, we used to all play at the same local game store, but a lot of us have kind of, moved and such like that. So we all kind of experience different things now. And I know Caleb lives in a pretty populated area, so I know his experience differs from ours a little bit, which I do appreciate that. And Caleb also has been playing Magic the least amount compared to all of us too. So
yeah, he's our resident newbie.
So it's nice in the sense that he started playing Magic. I actually taught him how to play Magic was during COVID. So he didn't experience anything pre-COVID. So I think that can add some additional insight. There's not quite as much nostalgia to his opinion, which I do appreciate that. So, but yeah, does anyone else have any opinions on anything else I know that we discussed? I know we're kind of all on the same page in terms of how to fix Friday Night Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay. All right. So the last thing that we're going to talk about now is going to be the member Q&A. So I've got a few questions here that we're going to go over today. So I'm actually reading them from the actual Commander Crane Discord. So a few questions. We have 3 specific ones we're going to go over. So the first one, this one is from Crazy Flame, who is in the Discord. I apologize. I'm forgetting what your YouTube handle is all of a sudden. But so we were asking, is there anything that you would like us to answer on the podcast? So Crazy Flame had mentioned in here the general idea of how to build a deck in terms of where you would like to start. So when we're looking to build decks, and everyone can kind of answer this own question, is there a specific card that makes you want to build a deck? Is it just you always gravitate toward these colors and you just want to build something maybe related to a card, or something to beat a specific metagame, you're trying to spike a tournament? I guess where do you generally start when it comes to deck building? And Cody, I'll let you go ahead and start off with this one.
I don't know if I would say I generally start anywhere. It usually comes from a few different places, you know what I mean? It can come from a single card, it can come from a archetype, it can come from just colors for a specific format that I like a lot of the cards in those colors. It honestly can come from a lot of different directions, but I would say most often it probably comes from there's a card or 2 or maybe 3 that I really want to check out, and what's the best way to utilize that card?
Okay, so Ryan, you are next. So what are your opinions on that?
Okay, so I think if I'm going to a large tournament, I think it's a different question in that context because if I'm going to like an IQ or a Grand Prix or Magic Fest or whatever, my question is all, and I'm trying to win the big tournament, obviously. My question is, what does the metagame look like? And what specific deck or strategy or cards can I use to attack that metagame? What's well positioned? But that's not really how I build decks per se. Like maybe 2 to 5% of the decks I build are built for those kinds of tournaments. The vast majority of decks I build are for like F&M or for, playing on a kitchen table or something like that. And if that's the question, is what makes me want to build a deck, or how do I know what kind of deck I want to play and what to put in it? I would say most of the time it's a specific card, and you look at that card and you say, how can I fit the most fun or interesting cards, the most synergy? How can I build around this card to maximize its value? What does that deck look like? And then you throw that together. And maybe you do that for a bunch of different cards, or maybe you do it for that one card and you keep refining it. And some combination of those two things is what gets me to the decks that I like to play.
Okay, yeah, no, I can definitely understand. I feel like I'll explain my point after Hunter here, but I feel like I could definitely agree with that. So, all right, Hunter, the floor is yours.
Yeah, kind of like the same mindset. It's two different questions. Like if I'm going to be going to a large comp IRL event, I'm going to be like looking at the meta. I'm going to be playtesting with people and playtesting on Arena, like a few different decks, seeing what works, what doesn't work, what kind of playstyles there are, the nitty-gritty stuff. But kind of like the same thing that Ryan said, like if I'm just gonna go play my local F&M, like I'm gonna pick a card or a couple of cards that like have some slight synergy, or if I want to see if they can work together if I build around them, and then just kind of go from there and look for like high consistency and high synergistic cards to help like build upon the one or two cards that I want to build a deck around. Like when I built the Hardened Scales list, and I just kind of started like I wanted to start with Hardened Scales and Botanical Brawler, and then just kind of like worked my way through that, and then came to the deck that I got to, and then it's just been slowly tweaking it since.
Yeah, no,
So that seems to be pretty universal then, huh? That's kind of how everybody starts.
Yeah, I would say mine is slightly different, and it'll make sense in a moment. So, for me personally, when it comes to deck building, at least at a base, I generally will, at least for like Friday Night Magic, we'll say that compared to competitive Magic. So Friday Night Magic, a lot of my decks that I build, or even when I build my deck techs here on the channel, either like a new card comes out or a card that I've played in the past that I have a lot of, like nostalgia for, or even a card that I've never played before. I'll just like have an idea. Like, okay, you want to know what? Like, for instance, a few weeks ago when I played Dragons at FNM, I was like, you know what? I really want to play some Stormbreath Dragon. How can I maximize Stormbreath Dragon in terms of, like what deck would be the strongest deck to play with this card in there that also synergizes with it? Because when I'm building a deck, I also, it's like a nice burger when you get a deck with like a card that's like maybe not as good, but you're able to put a lot of synergy with it, but it's also like a strong synergy. It feels really, really good. And when I'm playing F&M, typically I'll just pick like, all right, I want to play Stormbreath Dragon, or man, imagine if I built a Zerta deck and like what could I do that would maybe be decently strong or, competitive, like at least go 2-1, but also still fit my strategy of what I like to play. And then I just kind of go from there in terms of what I should pick. I do like to, at least at F&M, I like to be like, okay, if I know, all right, Hunter likes to play a lot of mono red, so maybe I'll throw a couple of like this specific card. Like this is pretty good against the mono red matchup, in terms of sideboard cards. When I'm going to a competitive event, it changes my mindset a little bit. Like obviously, like for Pioneer, if I'm going to a competitive Pioneer event, Dinos is the deck that I've put by far the most time into, and I enjoy playing the deck. So I'm likely to play that. But one thing to note when you're obviously playing competitive Magic is you want to know your angle of the metagame. What can you do to combat the decks that you're expecting to play against? So obviously some of your main board and sideboard cards are going to adjust based on that, like obviously, like not even just as simple as like, oh, pick your poison's a good card, I'll put that in. It's like, okay, like at least with our area specifically, is like, I know Grand Rapids, there's a lot of control players that like playing Grand Rapids. Like, do I want to play a third Cavern of Souls in my deck? Do I want to consider maybe switching up Magebane Lizard for Cindervines or something like that? But in terms of a specific idea, it obviously, like we all said, it varies between FNM and then also competitive events. But yeah, that's really the best insight I guess I can give. It just kind of depends on what mood am I in. Am I in a mood to just like play a nostalgic card? Like I know, Ryan, you've been playing Pyromancer's Goggles a lot recently. Like sometimes you just have an itch to build around a specific card. Sometimes you're like, you want to know what? I think a black mid-range deck can like totally take advantage of this metagame right now. So maybe you build black mid-range because you think it's a good deck right now. It depends on your overall goal. What am I trying to achieve right now?
I think, like, at the end of all of this, like, in the super layman's terms, in the biggest vacuum possible, the questions you should ask yourself when building a deck is, do my cards have synergy? Are they consistent? Can I generate card advantage? Can I play to the board? And can my lands cast my spells?
Yeah.
Like, if you start in that pretty much ballpark of building and just build upon those, like, ideals and questions, you will eventually get to at least, like, a tier 2.5 to 1.5 deck at some capacity.
Yeah, no, I can agree to that. I guess, does anyone else have any other questions or comments, at least on that question?
I think for my mind, it's always a question of whether it's FNM or a big tournament, what does the metagame look like and how do you want to attack it? But I mean, that's just a question of how to structure the deck more than what to play. Like you can play anything and kind of tailor it to a metagame. So unless it's a really competitive event, it doesn't really matter so much what deck you pick. So if the question is how do you tailor the deck to the metagame, that's probably too broad a question for this venue. But if the question is how do you decide what deck to play, I think that's the answer. Is you find a card or two that you really like and you try and squeeze the most possible value out of those cards in a synergistic show.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I agree to that. Okay, so the next question I have here, so it's pretty simple. It's a question I think that everyone will like answering. So this is from Ralphie, the longest standing channel member, actually. So thanks, Ralphie. What is your favorite meta you've played in your time of Magic, and why? And it can be any format. And I'm going to expand on this. So I would say if everybody could pick their favorite standard and modern metagame, Pioneer if you'd like to. I know that not everyone is as big of a fan of Pioneer as I am, so I'll let you decide any amount of formats. Heck, I know Cody, I know you used to play a lot of Legacy. You can talk about your favorite Legacy format too. Just kind of give like a brief era and like why it was like your favorite, I would say. Hunter, we'll have you start.
All right. Well, I guess for starters, for standard, it is going to come as no surprise to anybody that I'm going to pick the like OG cons block era, essentially. It's really nostalgic for me. It was like one of the first like block sets that had come out since I really started taking the game a little more seriously. And that's when I really started brewing. It was around that time that I actually won my first FNM and continued to get better at that era. But it was just it was a lot of, fun with like a lot of high synergistic 3-color decks, even 4-color decks running around, and it didn't seem like there was one specific deck that you had to play that could like you either make it or break it, essentially. You had like your Jeskai, you had your Dark Jeskai, you had Mardu, you had Abzan, you had a couple of these 2-color variations for a lot of these decks, and it just felt like a very diverse and fun meta where nothing seemed to be too heavily pushed, but nothing also seemed to be too underpowered once you started building in the certain like clans.
Yeah, honestly, I did not personally play really during I didn't play standard during the original cons, but from a lot of what, like, I've watched a lot of different videos and coverage based on what that time frame looked like. Yeah, I have to agree. It just felt like there was a lot of different options in terms of what you could play. I guess with did you have any thing with modern or pioneer specifically?
I guess since you brought up modern specifically, actually it would have to be right after the first Modern Horizons set came out and those cards started to like kind of shake up the format a little bit. Because I didn't really play Modern too much until that point, started taking it seriously because I think that was like what the competitive season was. And so I just kind of threw together Burn. But after Hogak got banned and all that nonsense had came in through, there was a nice little like era of a few months where modern felt like fun, fairly healthy. Burn felt viable. All these other lists felt viable, and then you saw like a lot of like a lot of more build aroundy stuff with like Urza and things along those lines. And then like Modern Horizons 2 came out and pretty much did what we already talked about. But that was kind of like the sweet spot for me in Modern before the rest of the Horizon sets kind of came and took over everything.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I could understand that. I feel like I agree with that era modern too was pretty good. But Cody, I'll give you the floor next. Favorite formats, based on eras, and yeah, floor's yours.
For standard, and I this is what I was going to talk about earlier, is I really liked the kind of Cons Theros era, but I played it like before it was all four color stuff, so it was like more like RTR.
Oh, sure.
I don't know at what point it rotated in there, but whatever. That's when I played it, and I really liked it then. But the question I had about that format, because a lot of people talk about that era as like one of the best eras of standard. And I find it kind of funny because one of the most popular decks at that time was a very, very miserable draw go control deck.
Are you
Like
talking about
Sphinx's Rev.
I was gonna say,
Spells.
yeah, the Jeskai, the blue, white, and Jeskai decks. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just think it's kind of funny. It's like often thought of as the best era of standard. And it's just like one of the most miserable control decks ever was during that time. But anyway, yeah, that was my favorite era of standard. Pioneer, honestly, haven't loved really any era of Pioneer. When it first came out is probably my favorite, when people were still like discovering the format and brewing all sorts of different stuff, and you could show up at a Pioneer tournament with like anything almost, and do somewhat okay with it. But modern, I think modern had my favorite era any format, and it was before they banned Twin, and right before Eldrazi Winter, when Twin was still legal. I loved that era of modern. It was so good.
It was like February of 16, I think, like that time. I think.
Roughly in that area. I didn't get into modern until after they banned Pod. I think I would have liked Pod too, but I didn't start playing until after they banned it.
Okay.
And then Legacy, before they banned Deathrite Shaman. I don't know why they banned Deathrite Shaman. That was completely unnecessary in my opinion. But that's kind of a hot take amongst Legacy people. But I don't think that needed to be banned.
I remember when they did. I was playing a lot of Legacy at that time, and there were so many Deathrite Shaman players at my shop, and they were just kind of like, well, now what? Like, there was not just like an easy swap, so it just like they had to like retune all of their decks.
Well, yeah, your black deck couldn't play a mana elf anymore. Like,
yeah, and then
I was
like,
okay with the black. I was okay with the black decks playing a mana elf.
I'm sure you were, yeah.
Because you were one of them.
It was also a Grim Lavamancer and a way to gain life.
Yeah,
and you didn't
honestly,
have to play
I actually most of the time wasn't even playing Deathrite Shaman. I mean the decks I played Lands, which didn't play it. I played Miracles, which didn't play it, and okay, I did have a Jund deck, but it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I agree. That was a pretty fun time of Legacy. I played a lot of Legacy during that time, so now I can agree to that. So okay, Ryan, the floor is yours.
I hate to have to agree with Cody. I really do.
It is painful, isn't it?
It really hurts me. I wish I would have gone first. But okay, standard, I agree. Although I think I'm talking about an era shortly after when Cody was talking about, because Rev was RTR.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember exactly what order the sets came out in, but it was after Rev was banned, or at least after Rev had kind of fallen out of favor, and Origins had come out, and Flip Jace was kind of the new hotness in standard, but you could still play with all the cons cards.
Yeah.
So yeah, RTR had rotated at this point with Origins.
Yes, so I'm talking post RTR cons of Tarkir.
Yeah. When everything became 4-color piles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I didn't originate the 4-color pile, but I was certainly playing 4-color piles before they were everywhere.
He was a pioneer.
Hunter, it felt like Pioneer, yeah. Hunter will recall that I was championing some kind of like 4-color Soulfire Grandmaster, Mantis Rider, Burn deck.
Oh, you were talking about it earlier with
Crackling Doom, Jeskai Charm, Mantis Rider, Monastery Swift Spear. Yeah, it was just like, a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah, it was great. So that for me was the best in standard. And it's hard because there's been a lot of really good standard formats and a lot of really not so great standard formats. But for me, right around them was probably the best. For modern, well, I guess let me touch on Pioneer. I don't really think about Pioneer in terms of like, it's a lot harder to pin down shifts in the Pioneer metagame in my head. So I don't know that I have a great answer to Pioneer. Modern, it was definitely pre-twin ban or maybe shortly post-twin ban, but it was when Snapcaster decks were good.
Hell yeah.
So like the good decks were either like Twin or Infect or Burn or
before Eldrazi Winter, right?
Before Eldrazi Winter, yes. And before I think even before MH1. Yeah, definitely before MH1. I'm thinking like 2014, 2015 modern. For me, that was the best.
Yep.
It was just very interactive, but there wasn't a lot of incredibly game-breaking nonsense going on. And like Snapcaster is just an inherently fun card to play with.
When you could still register a Slippery Bogle, you know what I mean?
Well, that's kind of the unfun stuff.
Maybe for you. That was
like there was
the
Ruby Storm, but you could just go like Bogle, enchantment, and win the game. Like that's no fun.
Bro, play your mainboard Tranquilities, idiot.
I mean, I was trying to play like Burn at the time, and when they went Daybreak Coronet, I just wanted to jump off the bridge.
Did they ever get you with like the one of Spirit Link ever in the main?
Oh yeah, no, it was that, and then it was always 4 Daybreak Coronet, and then if they found anything like that, they just won on the spot.
So
if they didn't, sometimes they just raced you anyway.
What's the black Spirit Link? Is it Soul Link?
Vampiric Link.
Vampiric Link. So I remember there was a bunch of Infect players in my metagame at that time that were playing like 4 of those on the board because there was so much burn floating around.
Also, like the way I think about this time in Modern is the Spellskite era.
Oh, yeah.
This is the time in Modern where every deck had 3 or 4 Spellskites in the sideboard, and it was correct.
Yeah.
That card is good. Good Magic card. They bring it into Pioneer. That'd be funny.
That'd be great.
I had a friend of mine tell me that every color couldn't answer Splinter Twin, and I'm like, every color could absolutely answer Splinter Twin. What are you talking about? Spellskite was everywhere.
Yeah, that's why everyone played Spellskite, among other things.
Yeah. It was good against a lot of things, but it was really good against Twin, yeah.
Good against Infect. You thought with your pump
Yeah.
spells.
Those were the two best decks, and Spellskite just hosed both of them completely. Also, Bogles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah,
okay.
I always hated seeing a spell
And Burn. It answered every deck in the metagame cleanly. I'm surprised. Some people were actually starting to main one or two.
Oh yeah, a few deck. I think Infect main boarded a few for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was a good deck to main board for Infect actually, or a good card.
So okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take the seat for this one. Okay, so here's the thing with Standard. So I started playing in 2015. I really didn't start playing Standard though until like Kaladesh Aether Revolt. I would say probably my favorite Standard of all time though is right when War of the Spark came out. Like I really loved Guilds and Ravnica Allegiance. Those were really fun sets. I'm obviously a huge fan of the Ixalan block. You still had some of your cool Amonkhet stuff. I really like War of the Spark just because with all the cool Planeswalkers that had come out, like there was a lot of different strategies you could do. Like I remember going to a very early SCG IQ at that time, and like the top 8, like every deck was different. There was like your 3 Jeskai Planeswalkers. There was like your like Sultai value decks that played that one 6 mana. It was like 6 mana. It was like 4 black, like return any number of creatures or Planeswalkers to play, but you lose life based on the CMC or whatever.
Oh yeah, I remember that card.
And there was just like so much going on at that time. You had a couple of core sets that were legal. I feel like that was a really fun time to play Standard. For Pioneer, it's like a really specific window. It's when Pioneer was still in the wild, wild west, but it was when like all the really broken stuff was banned. So like there was no more Nexus, there was no more Leyline of Abundance, there was no Felidar Guardian, but it was still like wild, wild west era where like you'd play a Pioneer League and like every single deck you would play against is different. Like I remember doing Pioneer Leagues and it was like Dimir Control, and then you'd have like mono red Goblin tokens, and then your next one would be Boros Heroic, and then your next game is 5-color Niv, and like it was just always different, which was really, really cool. I would say for Modern, it's really tricky because I've played Modern for quite some time. By the time I got into it was when I like really into it. I was playing Panza, which had like the worst Panza metagame of all time. But I would say, kind of like what Hunter was saying, post Hogak, like MH1 was pretty good because like Stoneforger just got unbanned, and like it seemed like people were pretty happy with how the format was looking. So I probably would have to say that era was pretty cool. And then Legacy, I guess, because I played it, I used to play a lot of Legacy. I would say probably about right before Deathrite was banned. I felt like there was a lot of deck diversity, especially in my local metagame. Like you had your Death and Taxes, you had like your Mono Black Pox, you had like your Burn decks, you had your Miracle decks, your Bug Delver, your Rug Delvers. You had like just a little bit of everything, and it was fun. And I was able to like play Loxodon Smiters and actually like win games, which was pretty cool. So, I mean, any format where Loxodon Smiter is good, I'm in. It's a good format automatically. So, all right. So the last question we have here, which coincidentally is very similar to the last question we just had, the worst eras of the formats we've played, the worst time to actually play any of the formats that we enjoyed. But we didn't like playing them at that time. So, Hunter, I'm going to give you the floor once again. The least favorite eras of the formats you've played.
Oh, for Standard in specific, the first thing that came to mind was Oko Standard. That was easily one of, if not the worst era of probably Magic in general that I have ever played. It was just miserable. They just went turn 1 Goose, turn 3 Oko, make a food, turn 4 play the wolf dude, and then or turn 3 play the wolf dude, and it was just off to the races for the deck, and it was just pretty much impossible to beat unless you were playing the same deck, and even then it was just a matter of like if you were on the play or not and had the turn 2 nonsense. So Oko Standard was pretty bad, and then it kind of translated into Pioneer there for a while, and even same with Modern. So pretty much that like entire era of Oko existing was horrible. For I guess for the sake of recency bias, Nadu Modern was also quite awful. And then for Pioneer, I'm gonna go with the Karn era when Karn was still legal for Nykthos. That deck was just disgusting. It was so disgusting that I, took fourth in a tournament that I wasn't even going to until the day before, and it picked up that deck and just played autopilot the entire time. That's all I did. That's all you needed to do. Deck was busted.
Yeah, no, I can agree. Karn, man, and Oko, just, yeah, I don't know. Planeswalkers, they're either really bad or they're really broken sometimes. I feel like they have a hard time balancing them. So, but anyways,
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, Cody, you are up. Worst eras of when you've played Magic.
I will agree with Hunter on Standard. The Oko era is probably the worst Standard I've played, but I haven't played that many eras. I've never been a big Standard guy, so I've only played a few eras of Standard, but the Oko one was the worst. Pioneer, I don't really have an opinion. I've never been huge on Pioneer.
It was when Pugnacious Hammerskull entered. Ever since then, you've not liked it.
No, I honestly never really liked it that much. Modern has to be Eldrazi winner by like a long shot. That was just the worst. I mean, that was the worst out of any format for me. Era of Magic. I hated Eldrazi winner. I quit Modern for a lot of years because of that.
Fair.
And Legacy was right after they banned Astrolabe. I think that was another horrible ban in my opinion. But yeah.
Okay.
Also, the name of that 6-drop is Command the Dreadhorde.
Command the Dreadhorde,
Yeah.
yes. Oh yeah.
Man, the Dreadhorde, yeah.
That deck was a cool deck. I will admit, like that deck was pretty sweet. Okay, all right, Ryan, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I don't have strong opinions on most of these formats. I'm not a Legacy player. Modern, I would say right now is the worst time to ever be playing Modern. Absent when there was some extremely broken deck like Hogak and you just like the format was unplayable. I didn't mind Eldrazi Winter because I was playing Delver and I was enjoying it. Actually went to a Grand Prix and played Blue-Red Delver against Eldrazi Winter and day 2'd. So that wasn't so bad.
Got him.
Pioneer, again, like I don't really know. Pioneer's really been, honestly, it's been very consistent for me. So like I don't have a lot of high peaks in Pioneer and I don't have a lot of low peaks in Pioneer. It's just a good format. Like we're all Pioneer stands here except Cody. But I want to talk about Standard. The worst Standard format of all time, by far, no questions asked, is Caw-Blade. This would have been end of the first Zendikar set into the beginning of the first Mirrodin set. For those of you who don't know, Caw-Blade was probably the most dominant Standard deck of all time. I think its day 2 rate back when we had like regular GPs was somewhere in like the 60 to 80% range. So like if you went to a GP and watched day 2 coverage, the vast majority of matches were just Caw-Blade mirrors. It was miserable. The deck played Jace the Mind Sculptor, Stoneforge Mystic. Towards the tail end, it got Batterskull. It had Sword of Feast and Famine, Mana Leak, Ponder, like all these cards that were just way too good for Standard, all in one blue-white control shell. But that wasn't the only reason that format was bad, because the other decks that were playable in that format included Valakut Ramp, which was like basically trying to ramp out as many mountains as possible as quickly as possible. There was no Scape Shift, but there was like
Colony Hard Expedition.
Yeah. So it was just like a really annoying, like you don't interact with this combo deck. They just vomit out lands and kill you. So that was no fun. There was Splinter Twin. Deceiver Exarch was in Mirrodin, and Twin was in the Eldrazi block. I can't remember which set.
Rise
so
of the
they
Eldrazi.
literally played Splinter Twin. Yep. That was in the format.
I'm on board.
There were some like super fast infect decks in the format that just like went Glistener Elf and tried to kill you. My favorite memory from that format, I was playing elves. I was rather new to the scene. So I was playing some like Arc Druid, like, elf deck in standard. I was playing against Splinter Twin. This was round 7 of a big event, and I was like, 2-4 or something like that. Like, this match had no stakes. I have some mana, and I have 2 1-mana interaction spells, or 2 interaction spells to beat Twin if they went for Twin. And I had 3. So I could either leave up 3 pieces of interaction, or I could play an elf and leave up 2 pieces of interaction. And they were going to go to their turn 6 and play their 6th land. And I was like, there's no way that I need 3 pieces of interaction to deal with this deck. Like, this is standard. I have to kill him eventually. I'm going to play my elf, and I'll hold up my 2 pieces of interaction. So he goes End Step Deceiver, untap Twin. I go, I think it was Vines of Vastwood. I had like Vines of Vastwood and Naturalize. So I go Vines to make the Deceiver Exarch untargetable. He counters it with like a Dispel. And then I go other thing to interact with Twin, and he goes Spell Pierce. And I died.
Jeez.
That was the worst format of all time. And that was not the best deck.
That sounds not great. Yeah, I didn't play standard. I didn't play Magic at that time, but I couldn't imagine that would be a lot of fun.
But you may have beat up on Eldrazi, but it was also putting up those kind of numbers. Like, it was 7 of the 8 decks in the Pro Tour or whatever.
Oh, it was
6.
It was 6, yeah, but like I played at a GP, and it was, your opponent was either playing Eldrazi, and there were like 3 flavors of Eldrazi, or they were playing some god-awful like control prison deck to try and beat Eldrazi. So like, I saw people playing Lantern, and I saw people playing like honest to god Ruined Halo, Ghostly Prison, like lock you out control. That was a great GP.
So that Pro Tour, it was 2 Affinity and 6 Eldrazi.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. The format was awful.
It's a good format. I'm just saying I didn't mind it.
So I'll go ahead and give my opinion on this. Okay, so Standard is tricky. Kind of like Cody, I haven't played a lot of Eras of Standard. A lot of the ones that have been bad since I've been playing Magic, I didn't play because I was like, A, Standard sucks right now, and B, I don't have a lot of the cards to play Standard. So it's like, why would I get into Standard? But the one that I really played, because like right when Oko entered, it was when Throne came into the format, that was when like Ixalan had rotated, and a lot of my good cards that I play a lot had rotated, so I didn't play Standard. But when I did play Standard, and it sucked, was when I first started playing, right when like either Aether Revolt just came out or it was right before. And I remember going to the Standard Showdowns when they first started, and although I was not as good at Magic and my deck wasn't the best, it felt like every single match I was playing, it was basically you would die on turn 4. Like, this was pre-Emrakul, the Promised End band, so people were dropping Emrakuls on turn 4, like, you're playing against like Mardu vehicles and you're dead on turn 4, and like this is also when the blue-white flash deck was really good, so like there's just like Reflector Mage and Smuggler's Copter and just like all these really good cards, like Avacyn. It just felt like you couldn't do anything, essentially. And I definitely remember playing that as like thinking like, wow, like, yeah, my mono black deck isn't that good, but like, wow, I don't even stand a chance. Like, I'd have a whole hand of nothing but interaction, and I would still just get absolutely dumpstered. Like, it was never even close. So I would say for standards that I've personally played in, that's probably the worst one for me personally. For Pioneer, and I know that I've played a lot. I've played so much Pioneer. Like, Pioneer since day one, I've just played nothing but Pioneer. There was a solid year during COVID where Wizards of the Coast did not ban any cards in the format, and this is when Dimir Inverter and Lotus Breach was by far the best 2 decks, and it wasn't even close. So for basically over a year, Wizards of the Coast did nothing for Pioneer, and it was a dumpster fire. Like, the only decks you would ever see playing leagues on Arena or on Magic Online was just Dimir Inverter and Lotus Breach. I mean, it was horrible. And the joke I loved to give during that era was, I remember when I was playing Gruul Dinosaurs, weird, right? And I like messed around, and my sideboard was 4 Damping Sphere. God, I can't remember the hate piece I used for Dimir Inverter all of a sudden, but it was like some random hate piece for Dimir Inverter, like 4 of those, and then like 3 of something else. And then I almost 5-0'd, and I lost in the final round to Rakdos midrange. Like, it was the funniest thing. Like, I just went like 2-0 against Dimir Inverter, 2-0 against Dimir Inverter, 2-0 against Lotus Breach, just like messing around. And that era of Pioneer was god-awful. Like, there was only 2 decks to play. Like, the format was so bad that the Underworld Breach deck, because they played Wish, they would play Tome Scour in the board to play against Inverter, because Inverter would cast Inverter and then be ready to win the game next turn, and then they would Thought Scour. Like,
Sure.
like that's how stupid the format was. And yeah, like, it just wasn't great. And even like your tier 2 decks were just like not fun to play against in any way, shape, or form. I can't remember them all of a sudden because it's like been 5 years at this point. But yeah, that era of Pioneer was not fun. Also, shout out to Rakdos Vampires. That deck was miserable to play against, and thank God they banned Sorin Imperious Bloodlord. Because yeah, like
I also want to shout out Rogues was a miserable deck.
Oh
Back
God.
in Standard/Historic.
Yeah, that was like
my
that
God.
was one of the decks during Dimir Inverter was everyone was playing Rogues, and it was just like, oh God.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's why like every deck played like 4 Mystical Dispute in the sideboard, because it shut down like Pour Over the Pages, Rogues, and then a bunch of the cards from Dimir Inverter. So, and also that era of Pioneer, like half of the dual like color decks like had horrible dual lands. So like, unless you played like Boros, like basically your mana base was absolute garbage. For Modern, I would say, in terms of like horrible eras to play in, like, I mean, I'd have to give it to MH2. That's probably my number one, is like when the format just started becoming mid-range soup, like mid-range value soup, like the 5-color elemental decks and stuff was horrible to play against. I also hated Eldrazi Winter, so that's right when I started playing Modern, was in the middle of Eldrazi Winter. And
That's rough.
it was horrible.
Rough.
And then after that, it was like my entire metagame was nothing but Infect, Burn, and Tron. So like I'm trying to play like green-white Zoo, and like my opponent's just like Oblivion Stone on turn 3 and All Is Dust, and like dying to Wild Nacatls really, really fast, or like turn 2 or 3 Infect kills. Like, it was not a good time. It was not a good time for a newer player to learn how to play Modern. Like, you were just dying on like turn 3 consistently. So I would say that those are definitely my least favorite eras. For Legacy, I when I played Legacy for a good solid like 3 years, it was like generally a pretty good metagame. Like, there wasn't anything that was like too overbearing, I would say. At least, especially in the metagame I was playing in. Like, it didn't feel like there was anything that was too good. But also, I mean, some people hated Uro in Pioneer. Man, with Uro, when Uro was legal in Modern, in Pioneer, I think I lost 1 match in that time span at Friday Night Magic for Pioneer and Modern. Like, no one else was playing Uro, and I was just crushing people. And then when Oko got banned, I just took out my 4 Okos and put in 4 Uros, and then it was easy.
Easy peasy.
it was something.
Awful.
It was quite the era. Like, turn 2 Uro, turn 3 Cavalier of Thorns, turn 4 escape my Uro. Like, we're good. We're good here.
Just, yeah, like, win the game.
Yeah, just
Easy.
Yeah, win the game. Easy. And then it was funny when this one guy played Mill at my LGS, and I went turn 1. He was on the play, and I went turn 1 Elf, turn 2 some bad 3 drop I was playing at the time, probably Steel Leaf Champion, and then turn 3 escaped my Uro that he milled over from the graveyard.
It's like, thanks, buddy.
So, yeah, I was like, I'm like, sure, and then he's like, oh, well, I guess I gotta bring in my Grafdigger's cages against you. I'm like, dude, you do whatever you need to do. I'm still gonna kill you.
Yeah.
So, okay. That was pretty much the last topic that I wanted to talk about, but I've got the last wrap up here for final thoughts. So yeah, obviously we talked about Modern as a whole. It's interesting. I don't know the ways to fix it currently. But yeah, that's what we're dealing with Modern. I'm hoping it gets better. I mean, Modern was my favorite format for a long time. It's not something I personally see myself really ever diving deep into, at least for the foreseeable future. But who knows? If they start making Modern a thing at Friday Night Magic, maybe I'd think about diving back into the format. We also talked about Tarkir Dragonstorm cards. Set seems cool. It's an in-universe set. Seems really popular, and there's a lot of cool cards that we didn't even mention or talk about today that are pretty cool overall. Obviously, with Friday Night Magic, I hope that it comes back. I hope it becomes a thing again. It would be fantastic to see Friday Night Magic turn back into what it once was. That'd be sweet. I think it's realistically my favorite part of Magic is playing against other people in person that have similar, not necessarily vibes, but similar situations. Like when we go to the Grand Prix and stuff, or the Magic Cons, and playing in the side events and stuff like that is always fun. And that's the best part of Magic for me personally. So I'd love for that to come back. But, we'll see. And obviously we do our part. We go to Friday Night Magic. So it's not like it's our fault. I mean, we're trying. We're trying our hardest here. And we're not even playing tier 1 decks. So, I mean, we're doing everything we can. Yeah. And then obviously we did the little Q&A there, which was kind of fun. I always like talking about the little nostalgia stories and stuff like that. Because realistically, all of us have started at different times and had different experiences. So it's it's always fun to talk about that stuff. But yeah, do you guys have any other closing thoughts at all on anything, or?
Yeah, I would say I despair a little bit about Modern, but I still think Magic is in a fairly good place. I think Pioneer's fantastic, and I just wish Wizards would focus a little more on the affordability and the gameplay as opposed to just pushing product out.
I agree. Not going to happen, but I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with reprints, they've generally been pretty good at it. Let's keep it going, but even more so. Let's reprint Shieldred, please. Please.
Also, just less sets. That's would be my biggest thing. Is can we just go back to 4 sets a year and just
yeah, dude,
stick
no
with
That.
kidding.
Less is more, right?
Or just don't force me to care about the other sets. If you release Conspiracy 3 Take the Crown, I can just ignore it. It's not for me. That's fine. It's not for me.
Yes. Don't put it so it goes into every format, because I don't want to.
Yeah, don't make me have to care about it. Don't make me have to go buy product.
Yeah, exactly.
It might not be for you, but it's something you have to buy.
Yeah, it's forced to be for me. That's the problem.
Yeah, forcing me to buy Universes Beyond, which I didn't agree with to begin with. I hate it. I hate Universes Beyond. Pisses me off. I don't want to have to do it.
We got to save that for the next episode. We got to save it for that. Which, I guess, Hunter, did you have any closing thoughts or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, that's pretty much all the thoughts have been covered at this point. We know what we want and what we expect out of these formats and out of these things, even though they're all pipe dreams. So, I mean, we just kind of here we are.
Yeah. But honestly, I think Universes Beyond should be a good topic for the next episode that we do, which I guess we'll kind of start the wrap up here. Let us know in the comment section what topics you'd like us to cover. I think Universes Beyond is something we should discuss, especially since I think we generally have similar opinions, but we all disagree with it for different reasons, which I think could be pretty interesting in general for us to talk about. But yeah, this is the 3rd episode. Again, if you haven't watched the other 2, you definitely should. Obviously the sets that we talked about at the time like are, I don't want to say outdated, but they've been out for a while. It's established, but there's still a lot of interesting topics that we talked about. We're gonna try to do this more consistently. I know I've say this every single time, but the last one we recorded was months ago. So hopefully we can start doing this at a more consistent basis. Just because it seems like the people that do listen to these do enjoy them. But yeah, that's everything I got. Thanks for watching. Obviously, check out the other episodes if you haven't. Huge shout out to all of our channel members here for the channel. You help us provide things like this podcast. And yeah, that's everything I've got. I'm Commander Crane, and I'm joined with Hunter, Ziggy, and I eventually was Caleb, but then he had to leave, and then Cody as well. So yeah, thanks for watching this episode of the Alabastard podcast, and we hope to catch you in the next one.